Chapter 3568. However, the young man took a sip of the divine wine and nodded reluctantly. It's okay. This sentence was really infuriating. The first prince of the dragons and the others also showed a trace of displeasure. Before you even arrived, the Son of God had already prepared a seat for you, and then personally poured tea and wine for you. Even the Dragon King had never received such treatment in front of the Son of God. You, on the other hand, acted as if you didn't care. I really don't know why you're so arrogant. However, seeing that Long Chun didn't say anything, they couldn't flare up. Long Chun looked at the young man and smiled. I really didn't expect you to come. It's so lively. No matter how busy I am, I have to come and take a look. The young man yawned and said, You're busy? I really can't tell. Long Chun shook his head and smiled bitterly. These years, you should have left your footprints in the sky cloud realm. In other words, the young man had been touring the mountains and rivers all these years, more or less. I've been to the dragon nest and the phoenix nest, but there's nothing fun. The young man waved his hand casually. What? He's been to our dragon nest? And to our phoenix nest? The first prince of the dragons and the foam peoples Bing Runing and the others were all surprised. They didn't know about this at all? How did this person do it without anyone knowing? Could it be a spirit? Long Chun was also surprised when he heard this. Although they had known each other in the ancient realm, he knew nothing about this person's background and identity. He only knew that this person was very strong and mysterious. Whoosh. During this period, many people came to White Crane Island. When they saw Long Chun and the young man, they were all surprised. Because only the two of them were sitting there drinking tea and drinking wine, they were extremely eye-catching. Another moment passed. The three heads of the Demon Palace also came to White Crane Island. When they saw the young man, their pupils shrank slightly. Soon, He Zhongtian also arrived and flew directly to the second princess and the others. The heads of the Northern Continent Sky Palace also arrived, but they didn't get close to White Crane Island and watched from afar. In short, now that there were many experts here, the Black Tortoise world, Princess Wuffing flew over from afar. When she saw the white-eyed wolf lying in the Devil's Land and reeking of alcohol, she frowned and said, Isn't Qin Feiyong and the first prince of the dragons scheduled a battle today? Why are you still drinking here? Princess Wuffing had sworn an oath of eternal loyalty to Qin Feiyong the moment she reconstructed her body and soul. Coupled with the seal of slavery, Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf did not restrict her freedom. Therefore, she had been playing around in the Black Tortoise realm all these years. He knew Qin Feiyong's situation like the back of his hand. Little Qin Zi hasn't come out yet. What's the hurry? The white-eyed wolf waved its claws, completely unconcerned. Princess Wuffing's face darkened. Couldn't these fellows show some respect to their opponents? Then, he ran around the castle. Where are you going? The white-eyed wolf stopped her. Princess Wuffing said grumpily, Nonsense. Of course I'm going to ask Qin Feiyong, that bastard, to come out of seclusion. She had been holding a grudge against the seal of slavery and the blood oath. What does it have to do with you? Mind your own business. Come on, drink with me. The white-eyed wolf glared at Princess Wuffing, took out a wine jar, and threw it at her. Princess Wuffing caught the wine jar. She was slightly stunned and said angrily, Who wants to drink with you? Do you think I'm Yun Zhongyue, who can't move her feet when she sees divine wine? See? You're not fun at all. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. Get out of here. Princess Wuffing's face darkened. She threw the wine jar to the white-eyed wolf and continued to walk toward the castle. Do you really want little Qin Zi to have a battle with the first prince of the dragons? The white-eyed wolf was doubtful. Of course. I want to see this bastard embarrass himself in public, Princess Wuffing said fiercely. Then I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed. The white-eyed wolf chuckled. Let's wait and see. Princess Wuffing snorted coldly. Boom. But at this moment, a powerful aura suddenly emerged from the castle. First Princess Wuffing was stunned. She stopped in her tracks and a trace of anger crawled up her face. To actually make a breakthrough at this critical moment, she was really lucky. After a while, the aura dissipated, and the pressure of a sovereign divine weapon emerged. What is he doing? Princess Fire Phoenix was suspicious. She hurriedly ran towards the castle. However, the white-eyed wolf's eyes flashed. He activated the momentary time and stood in front of Princess Wolfing. He shook his head and said, "You can't go in now." Princess Wolfing didn't know, but the white-eyed wolf knew. Qin Feiyang must be opening the door to the sovereign realm. Of course, he couldn't let Princess Wolfing see this. Princess Wolfing was stunned and asked suspiciously, "Is there something shameful? Maybe he's taking a bath? If you barge in, aren't you afraid that he'll hold you responsible?" The white-eyed wolf smiled mockingly. Princess Wolfing's cheeks reddened when she heard this. She said angrily, "Dirty, shameless. Hey, these words have nothing to do with me. No matter how beautiful you human women are, in my eyes, you're just wild monkeys without hair." The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. "You?" Princess Wolfing stared at the white-eyed wolf angrily. "No, I forgot that you're not human. Why don't we try being together?" The white-eyed wolf looked at Princess Wolfing wretchedly. "You?" Princess Wolfing had a look of disdain. "I'm not good enough for you? Don't be so arrogant. You're a fire phoenix. Although your bloodline isn't that good, I don't dislike it." The white-eyed wolf laughed. "Can I dislike you?" Princess Wolfing roared angrily. How could there be such a shameless wolf cub? He actually dared to compare bloodlines with fire phoenixes? Boom. At this time, a muffled loud sound rang out in the ancient castle. Princess Wolfing was very surprised. What exactly was Qin Feiyang doing in the ancient castle? Not long after, Qin Feiyang walked out in a new set of clothes. He was full of energy and vigor. "You're finally willing to come out." Princess Wolfing pursed her lips. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. He looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, "Why don't we spar now?" Scram. The white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes at Qin Feiyang. "Why didn't you spar when you were a perfect dominator? Now that you broke through to a perfect dominator, you came to provoke me. Even if you want to bully me, you shouldn't bully me like this." Princess Wolfing asked, "Do you want to go to White Crane Island?" "I don't dare to go." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "How strange. There's actually something that Qin Feiyang doesn't dare to do?" Princess Wolfing laughed sarcastically. "Are you stupid? Everyone knows that your younger brother and the first prince of the dragons are messing around. Right now, I don't know how many strong enemies are waiting for me to appear on White Crane Island. If I run over, wouldn't I be walking into a trap?" Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. "You're the stupid one." Princess Wolfing glared at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment. He looked at Princess Wolfing and said with a smile, "Right now, everyone's attention is on White Crane Island. Perhaps even your father is paying attention to the situation on White Crane Island. Therefore, now is the best time to go to the Phoenix Nest." "You're really sinister." Princess Wolfing looked at him with disdain. "Compared to you, I'm still lacking." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the snowflake appeared. The snowflake had already evolved into a supreme-grade, heaven-defying divine artifact. After all, it had been absorbing origin energy. The speed of its evolution was naturally incomparable to other divine artifacts. "Don't play tricks. No matter who it is, I'll only give them one chance." Qin Feiyang handed the snowflake to Princess Wolfing. His eyes flickered with a cold light. "Who are you trying to scare?" Princess Wolfing coldly snorted in her heart and took the snowflake. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and two people and one wolf appeared in the sky above Sea Lion Island. The white-eyed wolf immediately looked in the direction of White Crane Island and said with a sneaky smile, "If Pyrotechnic Glow and the first prince of the dragons knew that we're going to the Phoenix Nest now, I wonder if they'll be angered to death?" "Don't worry about them." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and looked at Princess Wolfing. He asked, "Are there any restrictions in the Phoenix Nest?" "No." Princess Wolfing shook her head. While Princess Wolfing was answering, Qin Feiyang was secretly peeking at her inner thoughts. There were indeed no restrictions. This way, they wouldn't be afraid of encountering danger. This was because Bing Runing and Pyrotechnic Glow had brought at least 5 sovereign divine weapons with them. There weren't many left in the Phoenix Nest. And now, he had the ancient castle, the Sword of Thanatos, the Horsetail Whisk, and the Slaughter Zone. Even if he were to fight with the Foam people in the Phoenix Nest, escaping shouldn't be a problem. Buzz. Just as Princess Wolfing was about to activate the snowflake, Qin Feiyong's divine sound transmission stone suddenly rang. Qin Feiyong took out the divine sound transmission stone and looked down at it. He frowned slightly and looked at Princess Huafeng. Wait a moment. With that, he activated the divine sound transmission stone. Elder Hua's figure immediately appeared. What's wrong? Qin Feiyong looked at Elder Hua suspiciously. Where are you now? Elder Hua asked. Qin Feiyong said truthfully, Sea Lion Island. I'm preparing to go to the Phoenix Nest to rescue Yun Zhongtian. Elder Hua was slightly taken aback and nodded. It's not a bad choice to go to the Phoenix Nest at this time. After all, everyone's attention is on White Crane Island. But there's a piece of news that I think I need to tell you in advance. What news? Qin Feiyong was curious. Elder Hua said, the fire dragon you're looking for and that young man are both on White Crane Island. The fire dragon. Qin Feiyong couldn't help but clench his fists. That's right. He's with the dragon's god's son and has mastered the supreme profundities of the law of thunder and the law of destruction. Elder Hua nodded. The white-eyed wolf and Qin Feiyong looked at each other. The white-eyed wolf came back to his senses and looked at Elder Hua. That's impossible. If he really has mastered the two supreme profundities, he should have already activated them when he was in the Demon Land. It's true. Many people saw it with their own eyes. Elder Hua said, You're on White Crane Island too? Qin Feiyong asked. Yes. I'm hiding in the spatial divine item to send you a message. And it's not just us. He Zhongtian, the people of the North Continent Sky Temple, the dragons, the Feng people, and your master are all waiting for you on White Crane Island. Elder Hua said. As expected. Qin Feiyong sneered. The white-eyed wolf asked suspiciously, Wait, who's that young man you mentioned just now? Elder Hua said, He's one of the people you asked us to look for. He has a snow python with him and looks like he hasn't woken up yet. It's him? Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other and couldn't help but feel excited. That person had finally appeared. Chapter 3569. Seeing how happy Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf were, Elder Hua understood that this young man was not a match for them, but a friend. He smiled and asked, This person seems to be not simple? And Qin Feiyong nodded. Until now, he still had not figured out this person's background, identity, and strength. Moreover, back then in the Valley of the Underworld King's Hell, he was able to ignore the corrosion of the evil force. Such a person was definitely not simple. What about Long Chun? As the son of the Ice Dragon, why would he save you in the heavy domain? Elder Hua was curious. This was the question he couldn't figure out the most. The relationship between the Ice Dragon, dragons, and Qin Feiyong was obvious to all. But as the son of the Ice Dragon, the son of the dragons, Long Chun had a completely different attitude towards Qin Feiyong. Wasn't this too strange? This person, I don't know either. But what I can be sure of is that if it wasn't for the fact that we were born with different standpoints, we would definitely be good friends. Qin Feiyong smiled slightly. Elder Hua was surprised to hear this. To be able to get such a good impression, it seemed that this Long Chin, whether it was his character, was quite good. He asked, Then will you accept the challenge? Qin Feiyong pondered for a moment, then said with a smile, Let's see how it goes. Since the fire dragon had appeared, he should go to White Crane Island to get rid of this scourge. But in his heart, saving Yun Zhongtian was more important. All right, Elder Hua nodded. After the transmission ended, Qin Feiyong kept the sound transmission godstone and looked in the direction of White Crane Island, his eyes flashing with a cold light. The fire dragon must die. This was something that no one could stop. Princess Huafeng looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously and asked, You guys just said something about the ice dragon. What do you mean? You will know in the future. Let's go. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. So mysterious. Princess Huafeng pursed her lips and revived the snowflakes. A space-time rift appeared. Opening the gate of time and space would cause a huge commotion. Going to the Phoenix Nest this time, Qin Feiyong did not have any intention of sticking around. As long as he could find Yun Zhongtian, he would leave immediately. Therefore, he chose Snowflake. Because Snowflake was the opening of a space-time tunnel, the commotion would be much smaller. Anyway, try not to attract the attention of phone people. As the space-time transmission channel appeared, Qin Feiyang took a deep breath, restrained his aura, and said, "Let's go." Immediately, 2 people and 1 wolf stepped into the space-time tunnel. The people gathered on White Crane Island had no idea about Qin Feiyang's plan. Gradually, doubtful voices also appeared. Why isn't Qin Feiyang here yet? Could it be that he's hiding somewhere in seclusion and hasn't received any news of the challenge? Could it be that he doesn't dare to come? Are you kidding me? Have I never seen anything that he doesn't dare to do? That's right. Look at the former blood hall. How strong was it? Didn't they still kill their way into the blood hall and forcibly disintegrate it? I think he either didn't receive the news or he was held back by something. Let's wait patiently. I believe that he will definitely appear. Now, the people of the Sky Cloud realm had a kind of worship and faith for Qin Feiyang. At the same time, Pyrotechnic Glow and the first prince of the dragons couldn't help but frown. What was this person doing? The land of the heavy region. The core area. In front of a quiet courtyard, 2 people and a wolf appeared out of thin air. It was Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, and Princess Huafeng. As soon as Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf appeared, they looked around. What entered their line of sight was an endless stretch of mountains and rivers. Towering mountains and steep ridges, verdant vegetation. Between the mountains, white mist lingered, and multicolored light shone for tens of thousands of feet, like a fairyland. The sky was cloudless, and the sun was shining brightly. This is the phoenix nest? Looking at the scene in front of them, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf were both stunned. They thought that the place where the Fire Phoenix clan lived should be an endless sea of fire. The place where the Ice Phoenix lived was an endless glacier. But they never thought that it would be such a beautiful scenery. Moreover, the phoenix nest was very big. What they could see now was just the tip of the iceberg. "Your Highness." Suddenly, 2 surprised voices sounded. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf were startled and hurriedly looked in the direction of the sound. They saw 2 old men quickly walking out of the courtyard. Both of them were wearing fiery red robes. Whether it was height, fat, thin, or old appearance, they were exactly the same, as if they were carved from the same mold. Obviously, they were a pair of twin brothers. "Don't be nervous. They are my followers and also my friends," Princess Huafeng said to Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, and immediately went up to them with a smile. "Daifuku, Xiaofu, did you miss me?" "Yes, I miss you every day." The 2 old men were in tears and went up to look at Princess Huafeng from left and right. They were so excited that their arms were trembling, and they asked, "Your Highness, are you all right? We thought we would never see you again." Ba. Don't say such inauspicious words in the future." Princess Huafeng pretended to be angry. Yes. Your Highness, let us see if you are injured. Why have you become so thin? Look at this weak little body. I don't know how much you have suffered. It's all our fault for not following you and protecting you." The 2 nodded repeatedly, their faces full of concern and self-blame. Really? Princess Huafeng was suspicious. She had indeed suffered a lot, but she did not seem to have become thin or weak. After all, she had lived quite comfortably in the Black Tortoise world, and Qin Feiyang did not restrict her freedom. Qin Feiyang. Suddenly, the 2 looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, and immediately looked as if they were facing a great enemy, and their eyes were full of anger. The man and the wolf were stunned. Why did they only see them now? Was their sense of existence so weak? "Daifuku, Xiaofu, don't. I brought them here. Now they are our friends." Princess Huafeng quickly comforted the 2. "What?" The 2 were stunned, and quickly looked at Princess Huafeng and asked, "Your Highness, why are you friends with them? They are people who want to kill you." "There is a misunderstanding. I will explain it to you later. Don't make a fuss." "Where is the human I asked you to treat well?" Princess Huafeng asked. The 2 pointed to the courtyard and said, "He is inside." "Then did you hurt him?" Princess Huafeng asked. She was afraid that when the 2 found out that Qin Feiyang had kidnapped her, they would make a move against Yun Zhongtian. "Yes, we destroyed his Qi Ocean and used the soul-sealing magic stone to seal his soul. The two nodded. Princess Huofeng glanced at Qin Feiyang, and seeing Qin Feiyang frown, she quickly turned to the two brothers and asked, "Is that all? Did you do anything else to him?" "No." The two shook their heads. Princess Huofeng breathed a sigh of relief and turned to look at Qin Feiyang and snorted coldly, "Don't put on such a long face. It's just destroying his Qi ocean and sealing his soul. There is no danger to his life." Qin Feiyang glanced at her indifferently and then turned to the Daifaka brothers and said, "Bring him out." "Why should I? You hurt Her Highness and made Her Highness suffer. How can we hand him over to you so easily?" The two brothers said angrily. Qin Feiyang raised an eyebrow. Cough, cough. Princess Huofeng coughed dryly and looked at the two brothers, waving her hand and said, "Bring him out, Your Highness." The two men frowned. What was going on here? Princess Huofeng said, "If I ask you to go, then go. When there is time, I will explain it to you slowly." The two men looked at each other, and the confusion on their faces grew. They then turned to the eldest princess and sighed, "I'm afraid you will have to go in personally." "Why?" Princess Huofeng was suspicious. "You will know when you go in." With that, the two men retreated to the side. Princess Huofeng frowned and strode to the front of the attic. The attic had a total of 3 floors, and it was antique in style. When she reached the front of the door, Princess Huofeng looked inside, and her expression froze. "What is going on?" Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf frowned and walked over quickly. The Daifaka brothers wanted to stop them, but when they thought of Princess Huofeng's attitude towards Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, they suppressed the disgust in their hearts and followed behind the man and the wolf without saying a word. Soon, the man and the wolf also walked to the front of the door and stood beside Princess Huofeng. When they looked inside, their bodies froze. Inside, there was a spacious hall, and all kinds of flower pots were placed. In the middle, a few chairs were placed neatly, and it was quite exquisite. On the left, there was a guqin, and it emitted a hazy glow. It was obvious. This was the place where Princess Huofeng usually played her guqin. And on the right side of the hall, there was an exquisite tea table. At that moment, on the tea table, the teapot was boiling, and the faint fragrance of tea wafted. 2 figures sat facing each other. One of them was Yun Zhongtian. Yun Zhongtian was facing the door, and he could see Qin Feiyang and the others at a glance. At that moment, Yun Zhongtian was looking up at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, and there was a smile on his face, and his clothes were very clean and neat. How was this the look of a prisoner? He was obviously here as a guest. We have been so worried all day, and he is just sitting here leisurely drinking tea? The white-eyed wolf's mouth twitched. He had not expected to see such a scene. Qin Feiyang was also speechless. With Yun Zhongtian's cultivation level, he could not sense it. And on his wrist, there was indeed a bracelet. It was made with the spirit-sealing magic stone, and it had the miraculous power to seal one's soul. As long as one wore the spirit-sealing magic stone, the power of one's soul would not be able to be unleashed, and one would be no different from an ordinary mortal. But other than that, he really did not find any other problems. His entire person was glowing, and he was in high spirits. Before he came, he had already mentally prepared himself to see a bloody scene. But in the end, what he saw before his eyes was such a scene, and he was completely stunned. He then looked at the person sitting opposite Yun Zhongtian. Although he could only see the back of that person, but he could tell that it was a middle-aged man, dressed in a fiery red robe, and there was no aura about him, but he gave off an unparalleled sense of oppression. That back was one that Qin Feiyang was familiar with. It was the clan leader of the Fire Phoenix clan. Chapter 3570. The Fire Feng people's chief was here, and he was drinking tea with Yun Zhongtian. Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, and Princess Huofeng came back to their senses and looked at each other. What was going on? How could they see such a harmonious scene? It was simply beyond their expectations. "Why are you standing at the door? Do you want me to come out and welcome you personally?" The Fire Feng people's chief said without turning his head. The 2 men and 1 wolf looked at each other, put away the snowflakes, and walked into the hall. Princess Huofeng did not forget to glare fiercely at Daifuku and Xiao Fu. The brothers also expressed that they were very innocent, because the Fire Feng people's chief was not informed by them at all. Brother Qin, Brother Wolf King. Yun Zhongtian got up and smiled. Elder Yun, you really know how to enjoy life. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. Yun Zhongtian laughed involuntarily. In fact, he was also very surprised. At first, when he found out that Princess Wolfing had brought him to the phoenix nest, he thought that the following days would be worse than death. But he did not expect that not only did Princess Wolfing not hurt him, she even asked the Daifuku brothers to treat him well. What surprised him the most was, a few days ago, when the Fire Feng people came here and accidentally found him, they did not want to kill him, but only asked the Daifuku brothers to destroy his energy sea and put on a bracelet. And in the past few days, the Fire Feng people's chief would come to drink tea and chat with him whenever he had time. Although they had been together for a period of time, he still did not understand the real intention of the Fire Feng people's chief. Sit down. The Fire Feng people's chief looked up at Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, and Princess Wolfing and said. The two men and one wolf sat at the side. Yun Zhongtian also returned to his seat and poured tea for Qin Feiyang. Princess Wolfing said unhappily, Father, why don't you show some concern when you see me return? Fire Feng people said, I heard the conversation between you and Daifuku just now. Since you are fine, why are you still asking so many questions? Then aren't you afraid that I'll suffer outside? Princess Wolfing said angrily. Who dares to bully my daughter? Although the chief of the Fire Feng people's tone was very calm, there was an undeniable domineering aura in it. Then he looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, Am I right? Right. Qin Feiyang nodded. I'm already under your control. What right do you have? Princess Wolfing glared at Qin Feiyang. Control? The Fire Feng people raised their eyebrows. Yeah. Not only did he use the slave seal to control me, he even forced me to swear a blood oath. Father, you don't know this, but he said that this blood oath will come true. Princess Wolfing's face was full of grievances. What? A blood oath that will come true? The Fire Feng people looked at Princess Wolfing suspiciously. The Daifuku brothers next to her were also stunned. I'm not lying to you. He really said that. Looking at the three's reaction, Princess Wolfing said anxiously. The Fire Feng people looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, Is that so? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. You are courting death. Get rid of the control on Her Highness immediately. When the Daifuku brothers heard this, they immediately stared at Qin Feiyang with murderous intent. I don't dare to do that. After all, we are in the phoenix nest now. If you get rid of the control on her, won't our lives be in your hands? Qin Feiyang held a teacup and smiled faintly as he sipped on his tea. You. The brothers bristled with anger. The Fire Feng people waved his hand and stopped the brothers. He sized up Qin Feiyang and said calmly, Do you think that you can threaten me by controlling Xiaowu? Xiaowu? Qin Feiyang was stunned. The Fire Feng people said, Although Xiaowu's life is in your hands now, as long as I say the word, you will never be able to leave the phoenix nest. I think it is worth it to exchange 3 of your lives for Xiaowu's life. Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf's hearts skipped a beat. How could he say such a thing? How ruthless! Princess Wolfing was stunned for a moment and said angrily, Father, what do you mean? You don't care about my life? Children shouldn't interrupt when adults are talking. The Fire Feng people glared at her. My child? Princess Wolfing looked at the Fire Feng people in shock. Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf were also stunned. Then, they tried to hold back their laughter. What are you laughing at? Princess Wolfing glared at them, her face full of displeasure. You have to understand. As parents, no matter how old or strong their children are, they will always be children in their hearts. This is their love for you. Qin Feiyang coughed dryly. Get lost. Princess Wolfing shouted coldly. The Fire Feng people looked at the two bickering and frowned slightly. Why was the relationship between these two little fellows a little incomprehensible? Logically speaking, shouldn't his daughter hate this person after being controlled by him? But now, although his daughter scolded Qin Feiyang again and again, he didn't see a look of disgust on her face. Putting everything else aside, this human must have been very good to his daughter during this period. That's enough. The Fire Phone people waved his hand and looked at Qin Feiyang. Tell me, what is all this about? Qin Feiyang said, let your daughter do it. The Fire Phone people turned to look at the eldest princess and said, Xiao Wu, tell me, is it Qin Feiyang or Bing Runing who wants to kill you? They both want to kill me. Princess Huafeng snorted. Don't joke around. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. The white-eyed wolf sneered. Women are indeed unreliable. Princess Huafeng raised her eyebrows and pointed at the white-eyed wolf. She said sadly, Father, it not only tortured me, but also teased me. Huh. As soon as this was said, everyone was stunned, especially Qin Feiyang and Yun Zhongtian. Teased? When did this happen? Ahem. The white-eyed wolf coughed dryly and said angrily, Bitch, don't talk nonsense. I'm talking nonsense? Who said that I have to be everywhere? And who said that you're more than enough for me? What? You dare to do it, but don't dare to admit it? Princess Huafeng looked at him with disdain. The white-eyed wolf was speechless for a moment and felt guilty. Brother Wolf, not bad. You're finally enlightened. Don't worry, I'll definitely support you. Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. What nonsense are you talking about? At that time, I just thought it was fun and made a joke. The white-eyed wolf glared at Qin Feiyang. Princess Huafeng said again, Father, you don't know, but this damn wolf cub looks down on the power of the Fire Phoenix bloodline. Looks down on the power of our bloodline? The Fire Phone people's chief and the Daifuka brothers couldn't help but frown when they heard this. The white-eyed wolf smiled embarrassedly and said, that, in terms of bloodline, I really don't like it. Sorry, I like to tell the truth. Bastard. The Daifuka brothers were instantly furious. Not only did he tease Her Highness, but he also insulted their bloodline in public. It was simply unforgivable. The Fire Phone people's chief also looked a little angry. He chuckled and said, Then let me see what kind of noble bloodline you have. My bloodline power? The white-eyed wolf was stunned and said proudly, Even if I show it to you, you may not know. Is that so? Then I really want to see it. The Fire Phone people's chief sneered. Qin Feiyang's heart skipped a beat and he said, White-eyed wolf, why don't you let him see it? Maybe he knows the origin of your bloodline power. The white-eyed wolf heard this and felt that it made sense. After all, the Fire Phone people's chief was more knowledgeable than them. Immediately, it waved its claws and a drop of golden blood flowed out and floated in the void. It was as dazzling as gold. The Fire Phone people's chief and the Daifuka brothers looked at the blood and couldn't help but be stunned. Then a trace of surprise crept up in their eyes. As divine phoenixes, they were quite sensitive to the bloodline power of fierce beasts. When they looked at this drop of blood, they immediately judged that this was a bloodline power that was not inferior to their phone peoples. They could even faintly feel a sense of oppression in this blood. One had to know. The bloodline power of the Fire Phoenix was already the noblest and top bloodline. Even the Fire Phoenix could feel a sense of oppression. One could imagine how terrifying this bloodline power was. However, they really didn't know what kind of bloodline power this was, because it was also the first time they saw it. Could it be a mutation? The so-called mutation was a newly born bloodline power that didn't exist in the world before. Don't tell me that even you don't know. The white-eyed wolf glanced at the three of them. Ahem. The Fire Phone people's chief concealed the embarrassment in his expression and said lightly, We may still need to investigate. If you don't know, then don't pretend. The white-eyed wolf despised him. The veins on the forehead of the Fire Phone people's chief suddenly jumped. Could he save some face? Then he looked at Princess Huafeng and said angrily, Don't mess around. Tell me what's going on. It's actually Bing Runing. She came to snatch the god-slaying tablet and asked the Ice Phoenix sword to kill me, Princess Huafeng said. Hearing this, the Fire Phone people's chief and the Daifuka brothers suddenly clenched their fists, making cracking sounds. In other words, Qin Feiyang did save you? The Fire Phone people's chief asked. Yes. If he didn't ask the Sword of Thanatos to protect a wisp of my divine soul, I would have been killed. Princess Huafeng nodded. Damn it. I'll go and settle the score with them. Daifuka roared. That's right. We usually give in to the Ice Phoenix clan. Do they really think that we're afraid of them? Xiao Fu was also seething with anger. Stop! The Fire Feng People's chief shouted. Clan leader, can we still tolerate this? The brothers were stunned and turned to look at the Fire Feng People's chief angrily. The Fire Feng People's chief said in a low voice, do you want to see the Feng people kill each other and eventually be destroyed? No, but they've gone too far. The brothers said angrily, I know what I'm doing. Don't interfere in this matter. I'll deal with it. The Fire Feng People's chief waved his hand, not allowing any disobedience. Hearing this, the brothers' faces were filled with helplessness. Princess Huofeng looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf and shrugged. She meant, see? Father won't fall out with the Ice Phoenix clan for me. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf frowned. It was a good thing to consider the big picture, but if they blindly tolerated it, it might be a sign of ignorance. After all, she wasn't an ordinary clansman, but his own daughter. If he didn't stand up for his daughter when she was wronged, then as a father, he would be a little incompetent. Chapter 3571. However, as outsiders, they really couldn't intervene in this matter. The Fire Feng people took a long sip of tea and calmed the anger in their hearts. They looked at Qin Feiyang and said, I heard that the first prince of the dragons challenged you today? Senior, you've been paying attention to this matter. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. And your son? Pyrotechnic glow. I really don't know where he got the courage to come and challenge little Qin Zi. The white-eyed wolf's words were full of contempt. The Fire Feng people were very unhappy with the white-eyed wolf's attitude. He was a guy who deserved a beating. He said faintly, Of course I gave him the courage. Then where did you find the courage? The white-eyed wolf smiled mockingly. The Fire Feng people suddenly stood up and said angrily, Are you challenging my patience? The white-eyed wolf hurriedly said, I wouldn't dare. You're the clan leader of the Fire Phoenix clan. In front of you, how can I not obediently lie down? Although he said so, there was no respect at all. If not for Long Chen's appearance, he and Qin Feiyang would have died in the hands of this person, so he had been unhappy. Brother Wolf King, let's talk nicely. Actually, the Fire Feng people are quite a good person. Yun Zhongtian comforted him. I can't tell. The white-eyed wolf snorted. Yun Zhongtian smiled helplessly. There was no other way. This wolf cub was a fearless person. The Fire Feng people took a few deep breaths and returned to their seats. They looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Tell me, how can I get rid of the control over my daughter? Princess Huofeng also immediately looked at Qin Feiyang. Who would want to be controlled by others? No one. Although he knew that Qin Feiyang would not compromise so easily, Qin Feiyang was indeed in a difficult position now. Qin Feiyang remained silent. Since you haven't decided yet, I'll state my conditions first. First, I will not interfere with the dispute between you and the dragons for 1,000 years. You can take it as the Feng people not helping either side. This is my bottom line. Secondly, I will let you leave the phoenix nest safely. Thirdly, this wolf cub flirted with my daughter. I'll pretend that it never happened. At this point, White-Eyed Wolf said angrily, I'll say it again. I didn't flirt with her. However, the Fire Feng people ignored him directly. He looked at Qin Feiyang and continued, fourthly, you saved my daughter. I can agree to one of your requests. As long as it's not too much, these conditions are considered polite to you. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, Indeed, it's very polite. However, I don't understand why you won't interfere with the grudge between the dragons and me for 1,000 years. There are some things that I can't control, and I can't decide. For example, above the dragons, there is the Supreme Dragon King. The Dragon King is the true ruler of the dragons. The Fire Feng people said. Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf's hearts trembled. Did this mean that the Feng people also had an existence comparable to the Dragon King? There are some things that we can't say clearly. The Fire Feng people said lightly. Okay, I can remove the control of your daughter, but you have to answer a few of my questions. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and said to the Fire Feng people, What questions? The Fire Feng people heaved a sigh of relief. It was fine as long as they could talk, because he didn't want to make a big fuss. After all, the young man in front of him was not an ordinary person. If they really fought, the Feng people would also pay a big price. This would be detrimental to the future development of the Feng people. Therefore, it was best to solve this peacefully. Why did you want to kill me when you knew that I had the purple gold dragon blood? Does the purple gold dragon really exist in this world? If it really exists, what is the relationship between the Phoenix clan and the Dragon clan and the purple gold divine dragon? Because I found that the dragons and the Feng people immediately changed their attitude when the purple gold dragon blood was mentioned, Qin Feiyang said. Hearing this, the Fire Feng people lowered his head and pondered for a while. Then he sighed and said, "The purple gold dragon does exist in this world." Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other and asked, "Where is it now? How many are there?" These questions are related to a lot of secrets. Only a few people know about it. I can't tell you, but don't be disappointed. Although I can't tell you these things, there is one thing I can tell you, and that is the origin of the purple gold dragon blood in your body, the Fire Feng people said. Qin Feiyang clenched his fists when he heard this. After working so hard for so long, he finally knew the origin of the purple gold dragon blood. He was looking forward to it. A long, long time ago, there was a human man who fell in love with a purple gold dragon. At that time, many people objected. Although this relationship was not blessed by others, they still came together regardless of everything. If my guess is correct, the people of your bloodline should be their descendants, the Fire Feng people said. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. So this was the origin of the Qin clan. Yun Zhongtian asked, "Then this human man, is his surname Qin?" "Yes." The Fire Feng people nodded. "What is his full name?" Qin Feiyang was very excited. This man with the surname Qin was the ancestor of the Qin clan. How could he not be excited? The Fire Feng people shook their heads. Obviously, this was also a secret. The white-eyed wolf said angrily, "Are you sincere or not? Isn't it just a name? I didn't ask you to say anything else." "If I'm not sincere, I won't even tell you this. I'll say the same thing. There are many things that I can't control. I don't ask for your understanding, but don't make it difficult for me," the Fire Feng people said. Qin Feiyang did not tighten his grip. What kind of secret was this? And who was involved? Why was even a super giant like the Fire Feng people so afraid of it? Princess Huafeng glanced at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, then looked carefully at the Fire Feng people and said, "Father, I want to know too." "Go away." The Fire Feng people glared at her. "Even I can't know?" Princess Huafeng was unhappy. "Not only you, even I only knew about it after I sat on the throne." The Fire Feng people rolled their eyes at her. How ignorant. "Then what about the elders of the Feng people? Don't you know?" Princess Huafeng was a little unconvinced. "Yes." The Fire Feng people nodded. "All right." Princess Huafeng nodded helplessly. Then she looked at Qin Feiyang as if to say, "I've already helped you. Don't blame me." Qin Feiyang sighed deeply. He looked at the Fire Feng people and said, "All right, I won't force you. As for what you said, you can agree to one of my requests. I think, why don't you lend me a few sovereign divine weapons?" The Fire Feng people's mouth twitched when he heard this. This kid really didn't know what it meant to be polite. How could he borrow sovereign divine weapons so casually? The Daifuku brothers and Princess Huafeng also looked at Qin Feiyang speechlessly. Even for the Feng people, sovereign divine weapons were the most precious treasures of the clan. How could they lend them to others? Even to future enemies? One will do. Qin Feiyang also knew that this was impossible, but he was still a little unwilling to give up. Not one, not even half. Changed to another condition, the Fire Feng people shook his head. Qin Feiyang said, "I don't need anything else." The Fire Feng people said, "I don't care. Other than the sovereign divine weapons, everything else is negotiable." Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead. Suddenly, his eyes lit up and he said with a smile, "Then how about this? Betroth your daughter to the white-eyed wolf?" "What?" The white-eyed wolf and Princess Huafeng stood up at the same time and glared at Qin Feiyang. The Fire Feng people and the Daifuku brothers' faces immediately darkened. Yun Zhongtian was calmly stroking the beard beneath his chin. That was a good idea. If that ingrate were to become the son-in-law of the fiery Phoenix clan leader, then they would all be one big family. If one's family was in trouble, who would not lend a helping hand? Not even? Qin Feiyang asked. Nonsense. Of course not. The white-eyed wolf, Princess Huafeng, the Fire Feng people's chief, and the Daifuku brothers all shouted at the same time. They were so angry that their noses were crooked. What was he doing? Qin Feiyang smiled awkwardly. The Fire Feng people rubbed his forehead and sighed. Why don't I lend you a sovereign divine weapon? If he really lost his daughter, then the loss would be even greater. Qin Feiyang was overjoyed when he heard this. Chief, you can't. If we really lend it to him, then the dragons will definitely misunderstand that the Feng people have formed an alliance with him. Moreover, what if he doesn't return it to us? The Daifuku brothers immediately stopped the Fire Feng people's chief. So what if it's a misunderstanding? Would the dragons dare to attack our phoenix nest? As for whether he will return it or not, that's even less of a concern. Because in this world, no one can restrict the freedom of a sovereign divine weapon. The Fire Feng people's chief smiled proudly and looked at Qin Feiyang. But we won't lend it to you for free. After this, not only will you have to return it to us intact, but you will also have to return the God-slaying tablet to us. As expected, you haven't forgotten about the God-slaying tablet, Qin Feiyang mumbled. The Fire Feng people's chief hadn't mentioned the God-slaying tablet before, so he was still a bit hopeful. He smiled and said, I will definitely return the sovereign divine weapon to you, but let's talk about the God-slaying tablet later. After all, we have to respect the sovereign divine weapon's will, right? The Fire Feng people's chief laughed and said, It seems that you are very confident that you can persuade the God-slaying tablet to follow you. No. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, But we have to try. The Fire Feng people's chief looked deeply at Qin Feiyang, then turned to Princess Huafeng and said, Xiao Wu, the God-slaying tablet is yours. You decide. Then let the God-slaying tablet stay in the Black Tortoise world. Princess Huafeng's eyes flashed and said with a smile, Ah. The Fire Feng people's chief and the Daifuku brothers looked at Princess Huafeng in surprise. Father, you don't know, but the Black Tortoise world is an independent world. The God-slaying tablet is now absorbing the origin energy there. Its evolution speed is much faster than absorbing the gravity in the gravity region. Princess Huafeng said telepathically, An independent world. The three's eyes trembled. I'm not fooling you. I've been in the Black Tortoise world for tens of thousands of years. I know the situation there like the back of my hand. Princess Huafeng said to herself, Tens of thousands of years? The three were stunned. I forgot to tell you that the Black Tortoise world has a time array that lasts 1 day and 1,000 years. Princess Huafeng said telepathically. I see. The three suddenly understood. No wonder she had such a cultivation at such a young age. Right. There's one more thing. I heard that Qin Feiyang has the first volume of the alchemy scripture. Princess Huafeng suddenly said. What? The first volume of the alchemy scripture? Doesn't that mean they've all opened the door of potential? The three were shocked. Yes. Not only them, but many creatures in the Black Tortoise world have also obtained potential pills. These are the pills that can open the door of potential. However, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf thought that I didn't know and tried to hide it from me. Princess Huafeng smiled proudly. Chapter 3572. The first volume of the Pill Codex. The Fire Feng people took a deep breath and said telepathically, Xiao Wu, continue to follow them. Why? Princess Huafeng asked quickly. She was annoyed when she saw Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. If she continued to follow these two bastards, wouldn't it affect her mood? For the first volume of the Pill Codex, of course. If the Feng people can get the first volume of the Pill Codex, we will be able to suppress the dragons. The Fire Feng people's voice was full of hope. But they know the importance of the Pill Codex. You said that you will attack them after 1,000 years. How can they give it to us? Princess Huafeng said secretly. So, it depends on your ability. No matter how bad it is, we have to find a way to make them help you open the door of potential. You are my daughter, and also the #1 person in our Fire Phoenix clan. However, Bing Runing is not bad either. The most important thing is that she is more ruthless than you. To be honest, if this continues, I am really worried about you. But if you can open the door of potential, I don't think Bing Runing or the other clansmen will be able to shake your position, the Fire Phone people said telepathically. Princess Huofeng thought for a while and sighed. Although it makes sense, it will be difficult to make Qin Feiyang help me open the door of potential. Everything depends on effort. The Fire Phone people smiled secretly. Clan leader, Your Highness, we don't have to go through so much trouble. We can use our advantage to negotiate with him, Daifuku said suddenly. What advantage? The Fire Phone people looked at him suspiciously. Our advantage is that we are strong and have many Dominator Divine weapons. Didn't you agree to lend him a Dominator Divine weapon? Why don't you lend him another one? Use it to exchange for the pill to open the door of potential. Actually, I agree with Your Highness. It is too difficult to take the pill codex from him. If that's the case, why should we take this risk? Patriarch, you must know that Qin Feiyang is able to live so comfortably under the pursuit of the dragons. It can be seen that he has extraordinary means. And you want His Highness to snatch the pill scripture. If he succeeds, it's fine. But if he fails and falls into Qin Feiyang's hands, do you dare to imagine what will happen to His Highness? Daifuku thought. He had considered everything thoroughly. Because he was a bystander, he was not blinded by greed. As for the Fire Phone people, upon hearing that the first volume of the Pill Sutra was in Qin Feiyang's hands, the greed in his heart instantly caused him to lose his usual wisdom. That makes sense. When the Fire Phone people's chief heard this, he suddenly came to a realization. How foolish. How could he use his daughter's life as a stake? If we really want to get the Pill Sutra, I think there is only one way, and that is to form an alliance with Qin Feiyang. After all, the reason why he came to us Phone people is to form an alliance. But Patriarch, you don't agree. Although we don't know why, since you don't agree, we can only take a step back and try to open the door of potential for His Highness. I think as long as we make it clear and don't play any tricks, Qin Feiyang will consider it, Daifuku thought. I also agree with Big Brother's suggestion. Air Fu echoed. In short, no matter what, they couldn't let His Highness take the risk. The Fire Phone people's chief glanced at the two brothers and sighed. I'm the patriarch of the family. At the critical moment, I'm not as rational as you. I didn't even consider Xiao Wu's safety. I'm not worthy of being a father. Patriarch, don't blame yourself, because we know that no matter what you do, your first consideration is the interests of the entire Phone people. The two brothers comforted him. The Fire Phone people's chief shook his head and smiled bitterly. Then, he looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Brother Qin, since Xiao Wu said so, I'll leave the God-slaying tablet in your Black Tortoise realm. Also, I can lend you a sovereign divine weapon. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other, and a trace of joy appeared on their faces. However, I have a condition, the Fire Phone people's chief said. Qin Feiyang wasn't surprised by this. After all, a person like the Fire Phone people's chief wouldn't help him for no reason. The Fire Phone people's chief said, My condition is that you open the door of potential for Xiao Wu and Little Hui. Little Hui? Princess Huofeng and the Daifuku brothers were stunned. The Fire Phone people's chief glanced at Princess Huofeng and said, With such benefits, we can't forget your brother. Princess Huofeng couldn't help laughing. At the same time, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf couldn't help but frown when they heard the Fire Phone people's chief's condition. How did this person know that he could open the door of potential for others? Suddenly, Qin Feiyang looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, Has Princess Huofeng left the Devil's Land these years? She often runs out. The white-eyed wolf secretly said, She often runs out? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Then, didn't this woman already know the potential pill like the back of her hand? The white-eyed wolf frowned and said, Didn't you not restrict her freedom? Qin Feiyang said helplessly, I didn't restrict her freedom, but it's only limited to the Devil's Land. If you let her run out, then how can our secret be hidden? You're really unreliable. Why didn't you say so earlier? The white-eyed wolf snorted coldly. Qin Feiyang didn't have the strength to complain. This was common sense, okay? Was there a need for a special reminder? Since things had already come to this, There was no point in saying more. Besides, in fact, in the Sky Cloud realm, the situation in the Black Tortoise realm was no longer a secret. As for the pill to open the door of potential, although not many people knew about it now, it would definitely be exposed to the world in the future. It was only a matter of time. The Fire Feng people looked at Qin Feiyang, who was silent for a long time, and said with a smile, I don't think this condition is too much, right? It depends on how you calculate it. If I only borrow it once, then I will definitely suffer a loss. After all, no matter how powerful the sovereign divine weapon is, it's not as valuable as opening the door of potential, not to mention helping the siblings open it. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. The Fire Feng people narrowed his eyes slightly. Sure enough, this little guy was difficult to deal with. He smiled and said, then, what do you think is not a loss? The right to use it. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and said, the right to use it? The Fire Feng people was taken aback. That's right. Senior, didn't you promise that you won't interfere in the feud between me and the dragons for 1,000 years? Then you might as well give this junior the right to use it for 1,000 years. In other words, after 1,000 years, this junior will return the 2 sovereign divine weapons to you, Qin Feiyang said with a smile. 1,000 years. The Fire Feng people lowered his head and didn't say anything. Daifuku secretly said, Patriarch, 1,000 years is very fast. It doesn't matter. The Fire Feng people sighed and said, 1,000 years is very fast, but there are also many variables in 1,000 years. Daifuku was silent for a while and said, then you decide for yourself. Indeed. For cultivators, 1,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. Basically, a closed-door training was tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years. However, if 1,000 years were to be spent on Qin Feiyang, a human, it would be hard to predict the changes that would occur. Senior, take your time to think about it. There's no hurry. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly, picked up the teacup, and drank leisurely. Yun Zhongtian looked at this scene and was more and more impressed with Qin Feiyang's state of mind. Facing the patriarch of the Fire Phoenix clan, he could still be so calm. How many people in the world could do that? The Fire Feng people pondered for a while, and finally gritted his teeth and nodded. All right, I agree to give you the right to use it for 1,000 years, but you must promise to return it to me after 1,000 years. Of course. Qin Feiyang nodded. Princess Huofeng said, don't just talk. Make a blood oath too. Children shouldn't interrupt when adults are talking. The white-eyed wolf glared fiercely. Princess Huofeng's face darkened and said angrily, damn wolf cub, are you asking for a beating? Can you do it? The white-eyed wolf looked at her mockingly. Princess Huofeng was speechless. With the 5 supreme laws, unless it was a powerhouse like her father, the average person would not be enough to fill the gaps between the white-eyed wolf's teeth. The Fire Feng people looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a faint smile, forget about the blood oath. I believe in your character, so please do not betray my trust in you. You trust me, so of course I will not betray you. This is the basic principle of life. Qin Feiyang smiled. Very good. The Fire Feng people waved his hand, and 2 dazzling divine lights appeared. Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, and Yun Zhongtian looked up and saw a divine jade and a thin sword floating in front of the Fire Feng people. The divine jade, Qin Feiyang had seen it before. When he was in the inner region, the divine jade was floating above the Fire Feng people's head, and that thin sword was about 3 feet and 2 fingers wide. Its appearance was similar to the Ice Phoenix sword, but the difference was that the Ice Phoenix sword seemed to be condensed from ice, and this thin sword seemed to be cast from magma, and a Fire Phoenix could be faintly seen dancing on the sword's body. These 2 sovereign divine weapons are the Fire Phoenix sword and the Fire Phoenix divine jade. From now on, they will listen to your orders. However, they also have their own principles and will never harm the Fire Phoenix clan. Do you understand? The Fire Feng people asked. Understood. Qin Feiyang nodded. In any case, except for the Fire Phoenix clan, the Fire Phoenix sword and the Fire Phoenix divine jade would obey all other orders. The Fire Feng people waved his hand, and the 2 sovereign divine weapons immediately swept in front of Princess Huofeng. What do you mean? Qin Feiyong was stunned. Little Dance will be with you for the time being, and after this lesson, I don't feel at ease leaving her alone outside, so I gave her to protect herself first. When she opens the door of potential, if she wants to be separated from you, she will hand her over to you. But don't worry, this won't affect you from commanding the two sovereign divine weapons. The Fire Feng people laughed. All right, Qin Feiyong nodded. As long as the two sovereign divine weapons listened to his orders, it wouldn't matter much even if they were given to Princess Huofeng. Princess Huofeng put away the two sovereign divine weapons, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. She looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "We've talked about everything, and it's time to settle the score with Bing Runing. It seems like you can't wait." Qin Feiyong laughed. "Nonsense. Do you think I'm that easy to bully?" Princess Huofeng sneered. With the sovereign divine weapons, she was more confident. Chapter 3573. The Fire Feng people looked at the Daifuka brothers and said, "Follow Xiao Wu and ensure her safety." Yes. The two brothers nodded respectfully. The Fire Feng people then looked at Princess Huofeng and sighed. "Xiao Wu, although you hate Bing Runing, I still have to say that you should look at the big picture." "I know." Princess Huofeng waved her hand impatiently and looked at Qin Feiyong. "Quickly remove your control over me and set off." Qin Feiyong's mind moved, and the slave seal was immediately removed. However, Qin Feiyong was a little troubled when faced with the blood oath. He transmitted his voice, "Snowflake, how do I remove the blood oath?" "It's very simple. Use your blood essence." Snowflake told Qin Feiyong how to remove the blood oath. Qin Feiyong nodded in understanding and extracted a drop of blood essence. He muttered, "With the heavens as the witness, with the blood essence as the guide, remove the oath." As his voice fell, he pointed his finger and the blood essence dissipated, turning into a mysterious seal and entering Princess Huofeng's body. Princess Huofeng immediately felt the two oath seals in her body disintegrate on the spot. The feeling of freedom is so good. As soon as the oath seals disappeared, she felt her body become light. "Let's go." Following closely, she looked at Daifuku and said. Daifuku raised his big old hand and waved it gently. A space-time transmission channel immediately appeared. Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf's pupil shrank. This person actually mastered the laws of space-time. "Be careful," the Fire Feng people warned. "Okay." Princess Huofeng nodded and took the lead to step into the space-time channel. "I'll take my leave." Qin Feiyong also got up and cupped his hands with a smile. He suppressed his cultivation to the peak dominator level, ready to give the first prince of the dragons a surprise. The Fire Feng people laughed. With a wave of his hand, the bracelet on Yun Zhongtian's hand fell off. Following closely, two people and one wolf, as well as the Daifuka brothers, entered the space-time channel one after another. When the space-time tunnel dissipated, the fiery phoenix tribesman pondered for a while and then stood up. He took a step forward and merged into the void. The next moment, he appeared in front of a quiet courtyard. The courtyard was located in the center of the dragon lair. There were no gorgeous decorations, but every brick, every tile, every blade of grass and tree seemed to contain a charm. "Feng Ho." The Fire Feng people stood outside the door and bowed respectfully. "What's the matter?" In the courtyard immediately, a gentle voice. The fiery phoenix patriarch said, "I believe you already know about Qin Feiyong's appearance, right?" "Yes." The Phoenix Empress voice rang out. "I'm here to beg for forgiveness." The Fire Feng people lowered his head and said, "You are indeed guilty." However, letting Xiaowu and Xiaowei unlock the door of potential is also to help them. When they grow up, it will also be a good thing for the Feng people. It can be considered as offsetting. However, you have to know your limits. Feng Ho reminded. "Thank you, Feng Ho, for your understanding. I will know my limits." The Fire Feng people nodded. "Okay. As for the matter of Bing Runing and your daughter, let the juniors deal with it. You seniors shouldn't interfere." Feng Ho said, "I definitely won't interfere, but that old fellow of the Ice Phoenix race might not just stand by and watch." The Fire Feng people were quite worried. "Don't worry, I will restrain him." Feng Ho smiled faintly. "Thank you, Feng Ho, then I won't disturb your meditation. After the Fire Feng people finished speaking, he turned around and left. When he turned around, he let out a long sigh of relief. As the owner of the Phoenix Nest and the strongest person in the Sky Cloud realm, Feng Ho didn't dare to say anything in other places, but in the Phoenix Nest, nothing could escape her eyes. Therefore, he was afraid that Feng Ho would blame him. Qin Feiyang, Golden-Winged Wolf King, Yun Ziyang. It seems that there are many talents in this generation, but what the Fire Feng people didn't know was that after he left, Feng Ho's murmur sounded in the courtyard again. It seemed, not only did she know about the Phoenix Nest, but she also knew what happened in the Heavy Domain. White Crane Island. At this time, it was almost noon. Although the sky was clear in the Phoenix Nest, the sky above the Sky Cloud Ocean was still covered by dark clouds and heavy rain. The atmosphere on the White Crane Island was already very heavy. Accompanied by the continuous rain and the dark sky, the atmosphere became even more depressing. It's almost noon. Why hasn't he appeared yet? Does he really not dare to accept the challenge? Many people had a trace of disappointment in their eyes, because in their eyes, Qin Feiyang was equivalent to their faith. Seeing the person they believed in not dare to accept the challenge, they would definitely be disappointed. The people of the dragons and Feng people also frowned and didn't say a word. Only Long Chun and the young man sitting in the sky weren't affected at all. They leisurely tasted tea and drank wine. Forget it. Let's retreat. There's no need to waste time on such a coward. Bing Runing couldn't help but look at the whole scene and sneered. Her words were full of sarcasm. What did you say? Who are you calling coward? Qin Feiyang didn't appear. Maybe he doesn't care about you guys at all. You guys aren't worth his time. Someone said angrily. Bing Runing looked at the person who spoke and a cold light flashed in her eyes. Only you guys are allowed to mock and ridicule us, but we're not allowed to speak? The person who spoke was also quite unyielding and looked at Bing Runing angrily. A bunch of ants. How dare you be so arrogant? Bing Runing's eyes turned cold and a mighty power of the law emerged. It surged like a tide towards the person who spoke. It was formed by the law of ice. The pouring raindrops instantly froze into ice in the void. The sea below also quickly froze, and the cold wind was bone-chilling. The world immediately turned into a world of ice and snow. The person who spoke didn't have a high cultivation level. When they saw this scene, a sense of fear emerged in their hearts. Boom! But at this time, a space-time passage appeared in the sky. Everyone looked up and their eyes were full of anticipation. Could it be Qin Feiyang? The first figure walked out. It was a lady in a red dress. It was Princess Huafeng. Sister. When Pyrotechnic Glow saw this, a trace of surprise appeared on his face. The Daifuka brothers also appeared. They stood beside Princess Huafeng and scanned the crowd below. Finally, their eyes fell on Bing Runing. Bing Runing, what are you trying to do? Princess Huafeng glanced at the surging law of ice. Flames immediately rolled out, and the world suddenly turned into a big furnace. The frost in the sky melted. Finally, the flames surged and collided with the law of ice. The moment the ice and fire met, an aura that could destroy the heavens and the earth was born. The stronger people in the crowd immediately stood up and used various methods to seal the fluctuations of the battle and protect the people behind them. After all, there were so many people watching. There were naturally many perfected dominators and great dominators. Why did she come out? Did Qin Feiyang let her go? Bing Runing looked up at Princess Huafeng and frowned slightly. When she glanced at the Daifuka brothers, her pupils suddenly shrank. Why were these two brothers here too? Could it be that this woman had already returned to the Phoenix Nest? Did that mean that the Fire Feng people already knew the truth? I didn't expect that such a small battle would alarm so many people. Accompanied by a faint laugh, Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, and Yun Zhongtian also walked out of the space-time passage. Qin Feiyang. I knew he would come. The scene was instantly stirred up. Those who were disappointed immediately had joy in their eyes. At the same time, the dragons, Feng people, Bing Runing, and the Fire Dragon, who was lying on Long Chin's shoulder, all had a cold glint in their eyes. The grudge between Qin Feiyang and the Fire Dragon was obvious. Not only did Qin Feiyang want to kill the Fire Dragon, But the fire dragon also wanted to get rid of Qin Feiyang. As for the dragons, other than the little princess, they had all suffered at the hands of Qin Feiyang. Naturally, they hated him to the core. Therefore, following Qin Feiyang's arrival, the atmosphere at the scene became rather strange. The surrounding crowd was cheering, while Bing Runing and the others all had gloomy expressions and killing intent. Only Long Chun and the youth were calm. Yun Zhongtian has come out. Looks like the trip to the Phoenix Nest went smoothly. At the back of the crowd, Elder Hua, the Demon Palace Lord, and Chu Yun stood together. Elder Hua secretly smiled. The Demon Palace Lord and Chu Yun looked at each other. This kid's ability was really not simple. He could even deal with the people of the Phoenix Nest. Moreover, the appearance of Princess Huafeng and Qin Feiyang together meant that the grudge between them had been resolved. This was a good thing. At least, in the future, Qin Feiyang and the others would no longer have to worry about the revenge of the Feng people. Pyrotechnic Glow rushed to the front of Princess Huafeng and frowned. "Sister, are you okay?" "I'm fine." Princess Huafeng waved her hand. Her gaze locked onto Bing Runing. Pyrotechnic Glow heaved a sigh of relief and looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. "You are Qin Feiyang?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. Pyrotechnic Glow said, "All right, since you're here, let's start the battle." "Start the battle?" Princess Huafeng and the Daifuke brothers were stunned. Qin Feiyang also looked at Hua Zihui in astonishment. This brat is very confident. However, he is merely a perfect dominator. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, "You should go to one side and stay there." "Are you looking down on me?" Pyrotechnic Glow raised his eyebrows. "Ah." Qin Feiyang was stunned. Was he so obvious? To be honest, he really didn't put Pyrotechnic Glow's strength in his eyes. "Little brother, don't mess around. Aren't I fine now?" Princess Huafeng secretly shouted. Pyrotechnic Glow was slightly stunned and said suspiciously, "Sister, are you having a fever? Why are you scolding me? He hurt you, so I must avenge you." Princess Huafeng's face darkened. She looked at the two middle-aged women behind Pyrotechnic Glow and said, "Aunt May, Aunt Lon, look after him." "Yes, Your Highness." The two women nodded respectfully, but they were also puzzled. Why did it seem like the first princess was protecting Qin Feiyang? "Qin Feiyang, you didn't disappoint me." Suddenly, the dragon's crown prince's voice sounded. He stepped forward and walked toward Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang looked at the dragon's crown prince and frowned. How could he be a perfect dominator? One had to know that the dragon's crown prince had personally said that he was inheriting the Golden Dragon clan's supreme inheritance. No matter what, he shouldn't be at this cultivation level. Could it be that he was hiding his cultivation level? Chapter 3574. Since you are not interested in Pyrotechnic Glow's challenge, then let our battle begin. The first prince of the dragons stood opposite Qin Feiyang and said with a faint smile, "I'm afraid our battle will have to be postponed." Qin Feiyang smiled and glanced at Princess Huafeng. With a wave of his hand, he sent Yun Zhongtian to the Black Tortoise Realm. After all, his Sea of Qi was broken and needed to be repaired. Following closely, Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf walked straight towards Long Chun and the young man. The White-Eyed Wolf looked at the young man from afar and waved his paw. "Little brother, long time no see. Did you miss your brother?" "Long time no see?" The young man's mouth twitched. Even with his indifferent state of mind, looking at the White-Eyed Wolf's despicable appearance, he could not help but want to slap him. So they are old acquaintances. Everyone looked at Qin Feiyang, the White-Eyed Wolf, Long Chun, and the young man and muttered in a low voice. Long Chun waved his hand and another chair appeared. He smiled. "Brother Qin, please." Qin Feiyang did not stand on ceremony. He walked over and sat on the chair. He was supposed to be the main character this time, but now he had become a spectator. "What are you pretending for?" The fire dragon sneered. "Yo, isn't this that guy? Why are you here?" "I'm sorry. My eyes were playing tricks on me. I thought it was a little bug that came out of nowhere." The White-Eyed Wolf screamed and looked at the fire dragon. The fire dragon suddenly burned with anger. Who was he scolding? "Be sensible, don't get yourself into trouble." Qin Feiyong smiled faintly without turning his head. So arrogant? The fire dragon immediately jumped up and sneered. I really want to see if you can last 100 rounds under my hands. 100 rounds? You think too highly of yourself. If you can last 10 rounds against me, it'll be my loss. Qin Feiyong smiled. The fire dragon immediately felt a great sense of humiliation. 10 rounds? He really dared to say that. Shut up. Long Chun raised his eyebrows. When the fire dragon heard this, a trace of panic immediately appeared in its eyes. It glared fiercely at Qin Feiyong and once again landed on Long Chen's shoulder. Qin Feiyong glanced at the fire dragon, then looked at Long Chun and asked in confusion, "Why would you let such trash stay by your side?" "I'm not familiar with this place and don't have anyone to talk to, so I decided to stay by your side to relieve my boredom." Long Chen smiled. Qin Feiyong couldn't help laughing. He turned his head to look at the young man, and then looked at the snow python. He said helplessly, "You made me look for you so hard. You can't blame me for that." The snow python immediately expressed its innocence. "Why did you look for us? To be your hired thug for free? I'm not interested in that. Isn't it fun to go sightseeing?" The young man yawned and said. Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled bitterly. He was puzzled and asked, "Then why did you appear again this time?" "To watch a show and drink to relieve my boredom." The young man said, "All right." Qin Feiyong felt helpless. He really had nothing to say to this young man. The crown prince of the dragons glanced at Qin Feiyong and the others. He looked at Qin Feiyong and frowned. "What do you mean by this?" "Don't worry, since I'm here, I won't run away. Let's sit down and enjoy a good show." Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. With a wave of his hand, a chair appeared. The crown prince of the dragons frowned and finally walked over and sat beside. Why are they sitting down and chatting? Are they not fighting anymore? What's going on? The surrounding onlookers were puzzled. Boom. Suddenly, a wave of the law of fire emerged. Everyone was shocked and quickly looked at Princess Wufeng. "Sister, what are you doing?" Pyrotechnic Glow also looked at Princess Wufeng in confusion. "Go away," Princess Wufeng coldly said. Pyrotechnic Glow smiled bitterly and followed the Daifuku brothers and the two middle-aged women to the side. "Bing Runing, let's settle our accounts first." Princess Wufeng took a step forward and charged towards Bing Runing with a wave of fire. "Your Highness, what should we do?" The white-haired old woman, the middle-aged man, and the white-haired old man raised their eyebrows and looked at Bing Runing. "What should we do? We've already come this far. Are we going to beg for mercy?" I've long wanted to see who is the #1 person in Feng people." Killing intent flashed in Bing Runing's eyes. She instantly turned into a god as the law of ice roared around her body. She slammed her palm towards Princess Wufeng. Boom. The two met in an instant. The collision of ice and fire caused huge waves to rise in the sea. "What's wrong with sister?" Pyrotechnic Glow frowned. Daifuku said in a deep voice, "Your Highness, you don't know. In fact, it was Bing Runing who killed Her Highness in the heavy region." "What?" Pyrotechnic Glow's expression froze. The two middle-aged women also looked at each other. When they came back to their senses, Pyrotechnic Glow asked, "So, what Qin Feiyong said to father was true?" "That's right. It was Qin Feiyong who saved Her Highness. They went to the Phoenix Nest to meet the Patriarch and reached an agreement." Daifuku nodded. "What agreement?" Pyrotechnic Glow was curious. "The truce agreement. We'll talk about it in detail later." After Daifuku finished speaking, he paid close attention to the white-haired old woman and the other two people. These three people were not easy to deal with. He could not allow them to suddenly attack and hurt Her Highness. "Damn bitch. I was almost used by her." Pyrotechnic Glow understood and looked at Bing Runing with disgust. In the blink of an eye, Princess Wufeng and Bing Runing had already exchanged dozens of blows. The aura they exuded was as sharp as a sword. Suddenly, Bing Runing's body erupted with the power of devouring. Her snow-white hair danced in the torrential rain. Accompanied by a deafening sound, a palm-sized black divine seal shattered the void and broke through the boundary. With an unstoppable momentum, it suppressed the first Princess Wufeng. Boom. Princess Huofeng was immediately sent flying and spat out a mouthful of blood. Law of devouring. Everyone was shocked. Sister. Pyrotechnic Glow's expression also changed. Daifuku stopped Pyrotechnic Glow and comforted him. Your Highness, don't worry. You know how strong Her Highness is. She won't lose to Bing Runing. In the void. Seeing Princess Huofeng being sent flying, Bing Runing took advantage of the situation and chased after her. The black divine seal exuded a destructive power. Divine light flooded the surroundings as it crazily attacked Princess Huofeng. This was a battle between sovereigns. Once the opponent had the advantage, they would inevitably face a storm of attacks. They would not give you any chance to turn the situation around. However, Princess Huofeng was not an ordinary person. Last time, it was because of the Ice Phoenix sword. Otherwise, it was unknown who would win. Boom. At this critical moment, the same black divine seal emerged from Princess Huofeng's body. This was also the fifth profound of the Law of Devouring, the Seal of Devouring. Princess Huofeng's eyes were like torches. With a wave of her jade-like hand, it instantly turned into a divine seal that was as large as a mountain. Then, it shattered the sky and collided with Bing Runing's Seal of Devouring. The two profound were shattered on the spot. Just as the profound was shattered, Princess Huofeng's eyes flashed coldly. A majestic devouring power surged out from her body. The void in front of her suddenly collapsed and turned into a huge vortex. From afar, it looked like a pitch-black bottomless pit. It was bottomless. Following closely, after the two profound were shattered, the law of devouring power surged into the vortex. Looking at this scene, Bing Runing frowned. A huge vortex condensed in front of her as she fought with Princess Huofeng for the law of devouring power. It's the law of devouring. It can devour other law of devouring power and transform it into its own. I didn't expect these two women to be so strong. The onlookers were shocked. Who were these people? Usually, it was rare to see ultimate laws. But now, so many of them had appeared. Don't bother with these useless things. We're both using the law of devouring. Can you devour my law of devouring power? Bing Runing snorted. The first profound, the second profound, the 5 profound of the law of devouring came out one after another, bringing with it an earth-shattering power. You're right. Princess Huofeng nodded. The 5 profound roared out. Boom. As the 2 profound of the law of devouring power clashed, heaven and earth collapsed, and the surrounding seas were destroyed. The surrounding crowd retreated. Those perfection sovereigns took action one after another, isolating the shockwaves from the battle. When the dust settled, Princess Huofeng and Bing Runing both took a few steps back. There was a trace of blood at the corner of their mouths. The law of devouring is indeed strong. The white-eyed wolf muttered and transmitted his voice. I've decided to choose the law of devouring for my 6th law of devouring. Qin Feiyang glanced at the white-eyed wolf and shook his head. Actually, the lethality of all ultimate laws is about the same. They each have their own advantages. There's no need to specially choose one. I think you should go for the law of life now. The law of life? The white-eyed wolf was taken aback. That's right. You now have the law of time, the law of karma, the law of space-time, the law of destruction, and the law of death. The supreme profound of the law of time can give you invincible speed. The law of karma and the other supreme profound of the law of time are all extremely powerful. So, if you have the chance to obtain the supreme profound of the law of life, you'll have a powerful recovery ability. Then, you'll be invincible. Qin Feiyang chuckled inwardly. Now that I think about it, it does make sense. The white-eyed wolf nodded and chuckled. All right, the 6th law of life will be it. It changed just like that. Can you be more loyal? Qin Feiyang looked at him in disdain. What you said makes sense. Of course, I'll listen to you. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. At the same time, Long Chun sized up Princess Huofeng and Bing Ruoyan. He was puzzled. Brother Qin, they're both from the Feng people. Why are they fighting? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Many things happened before you appeared in the heavy region. Long Chun nodded in realization. He was a smart person. After hearing Qin Feiyang's words and seeing Princess Huofeng and Bing Runing's attitude toward each other, He could roughly guess what had happened. Bing Runing looked at Princess Wolfing and smiled. It seems that our strength is on par. On par. Princess Wolfing smiled disdainfully. Along with the emergence of the law of devouring, the law of karma also roared out. What? Bing Runing's face changed, and her face was filled with disbelief. Even the people from the dragon side were shocked. This woman actually grasped two great supreme laws? What's going on? Doesn't Bing Runing know that she has mastered two supreme laws? The white-eyed wolf looked at Bing Runing's reaction with a trace of doubt in his eyes. She probably doesn't know, Qin Feiyang muttered. If she knew, Bing Runing wouldn't be so surprised. It seemed that the eldest princess was also a little scheming. She had always been wary of Bing Runing. It was no wonder that Princess Wolfing was so confident. Are you surprised? When I comprehended the law of karma, I knew that I would have to fight with you sooner or later. So, I announced that my fifth law was the law of swords. You always thought that our strength was on par, but you didn't know that I had already surpassed you many years ago. Princess Wolfing smiled proudly. The two supreme laws roared in the void, and the divine aura surged, shocking everyone present. Chapter 3575. Bing Runing looked at this scene, and her body was trembling, as if she couldn't accept this fact. Indeed, she had always thought that Princess Wolfing was the same as her, only mastering the law of devour. It was precisely because of this that she never thought that she would lose to Princess Wolfing. In her heart, she had always thought that she and Princess Wolfing were both geniuses of the Feng people, sharing the limelight with each other. But she never expected that the other party had already comprehended the second strongest law. Strongest law, to be able to comprehend two strongest laws by relying on one's own ability. One could say that one has heaven-defying luck. For example, Qin Feiyang now relied on himself to comprehend the law of cause and effect. As for Madman, the law of death and the law of destruction were both inherited. To be honest, Qin Feiyang and Madman's talent and comprehension ability were already unmatched in the Sky Cloud realm. This point could be seen from how Qin Feiyang comprehended the law of cause and effect so quickly. But even so, he only relied on his own ability to comprehend the law of cause and effect. It could be seen that, for the law of cause and effect, comprehension ability was secondary. Luck was the most important. Let's talk about the prince and princess of the dragons. These people could get whatever they wanted. Whether it was resources or background, they were incomparable to others. However, they had only comprehended one type of ultimate law. Therefore, it wasn't difficult to imagine how terrifying a person who relied on his own ability to comprehend two strongest laws was. Not to mention other things, at least in terms of luck, no one could compare. So, one could imagine, looking at the person she had always regarded as an opponent who actually mastered two strongest laws, how big of an impact was this to Bing Runing? Even the people who were watching the battle were moved by it. The only ones with a smile on their faces were Pyrotechnic Glow, Daifuku, and Xiaofu. Even the two middle-aged women behind Hua Zihue had faces full of shock. These two people were also Pyrotechnic Glow's followers. But obviously, even they didn't know about this matter. This is the true strength of the eldest princess. The white-haired old woman, the white-haired old man, and the middle-aged man murmured. Their faces were filled with shock. It was only at this moment that they found out that the first princess had actually grasped two supreme laws. In other words, in the past, the first princess had always gone easy on Bing Runing. However, not only did Bing Runing not restrain herself, she even went overboard. Boom! With a deafening boom, the fifth profundity of the two supreme laws appeared. The five-colored divine lotus created by the fifth Upanishad of the Karma law was like a dazzling sun that illuminated the world. The devouring seal formed by the fifth profundity of the law of devouring seemed to be able to devour everything. It emitted an aura that shook the heavens and the earth. The two fifth profound meanings were like two gods. Many people couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. Today, I'll let you know the difference between us. Princess Wolfing's eyes turned cold. Her two fifth profound skills instantly shattered the sky. Carrying a monstrous might, they shot towards Bing Runing. Your Highness! The expressions of the white-haired old woman and the other two changed drastically, but at the same time, four auras locked onto them. The owners of these four auras were the Daifuka brothers and the two middle-aged women. Their intentions were clear. If you dare to interfere, don't blame us for being merciless. In response, the faces of the white-haired old woman and the other two instantly darkened. At the same time, Bing Runing turned a deaf ear to them. She stared fixedly at the two profundities that were heading towards her. I don't believe it. Suddenly, accompanied by a hysterical roar, the 5 supreme laws that she had grasped emerged one after another. The law of devouring was the leader. The 5th profound meaning of the 5 supreme laws crazily blasted towards the 5-colored divine lotus and the devouring seal. In just an instant, the two sides met in the void with a loud bang, and a wave of destructive air immediately rolled out in all directions with the two as the center. At the same time, Bing Runing spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face instantly turned pale. Although it was the 5th profound meaning of the 5 supreme laws, it simply couldn't block the 5-colored divine lotus and the devouring seal. It instantly shattered in the void. This was the power of supreme laws. Against ordinary laws, they were completely crushed. Boom. After crushing the 5th profound meaning, the 5-colored divine lotus and the devouring seal seemed to have transformed into 2 death gods, charging towards Bing Runing. Bing Runing's eyes were filled with despair. The white-haired old woman and the other two were also burning with anxiety. But suddenly, the 5-colored divine lotus and the devouring seal both stopped above Bing Runing's head and didn't bombard her anymore. Bing Runing was stunned. The white-haired old woman and the other two also looked at Princess Huofeng suspiciously. She clearly had a chance, but why did she suddenly stop? However, Princess Huofeng didn't explain to anyone. She glanced at Bing Runing indifferently and waved her hand. The 5-colored divine lotus and the devouring seal immediately dissipated in the void. Immediately, she retracted her aura, turned around and walked towards Pyrotechnic Glow and the others without looking back, leaving Bing Runing with a cold back view. What's going on? White-Eyed Wolf looked suspiciously at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. This woman definitely has some brains. What do you mean? White-Eyed Wolf was even more confused. The people of the Ice Phoenix clan are protected by the Ice Phoenix flame. With the strength of the first princess, if she doesn't use the sovereign divine weapon, she won't be able to break through the defense of the Ice Phoenix flame. Long Chun spoke first with a smile. That's right. Moreover, Bing Runing's 3 followers won't really let her be killed. Moreover, before she left, the Fire Phone people told the first princess to look at the big picture. This sentence obviously means that she can beat them up, but she can't kill them. After all, Bing Runing and the others have 3 sovereign divine weapons. If they really fall out with them, it won't be good for the Feng people. Qin Feiyang also smiled faintly. So, instead of doing something that harms herself and benefits others, it's better to just stop. The first princess actually doesn't intend to kill Bing Runing. She just wants to give Bing Runing a deterrent so that she won't provoke her in the future. Moreover, to be honest, for someone as proud and arrogant as Bing Runing, being defeated by her own clansmen in front of so many people is the biggest humiliation of her life. So, this is worse than killing her directly. Long Chen smiled and said a few more words. So that's how it is. The white-eyed wolf nodded and looked at Qin Feiyang and Long Chun. What's wrong? The two of them were suspicious. The white-eyed wolf joked. You two are talking one after another. People who don't know will really think that you two are friends. Long Chen laughed and looked at the white-eyed wolf. Aren't we friends now? The white-eyed wolf laughed. Friends? You can talk nonsense all you want. Just as expected. Looking at the back of Princess Huofeng, who didn't even look back, and looking at the surrounding onlookers, Bing Runing felt extremely humiliated. This made her almost crazy. In her heart, there was also a surge of killing intent that surged out uncontrollably. Clang. Suddenly, the Ice Phoenix sword appeared. She grabbed the Ice Phoenix sword and rushed towards Princess Huofeng, roaring, I'll kill you. Your Highness, no. The white-haired old woman and the other two exclaimed. The faces of Pyrotechnic Glow and the others suddenly sank. This is a sovereign divine weapon. Oh my God. Not only has she mastered the law of devour, but she also has a sovereign divine weapon. Who is she? The surrounding people also stared at Bing Runing in horror. This is not interesting. Sitting next to Qin Feiyong and Long Chun, the young man who had been silent suddenly shook his head. Qin Feiyong and Long Chun looked at the young man, their eyes flashing slightly. Was he going to make a move? But they were really looking forward to it. But the result was disappointing. The young man didn't appear and directly closed his eyes, turning a deaf ear and turning a blind eye. It was as if the current Bing Runing wasn't even qualified to be looked at by him. In the blink of an eye, Bing Runing held the Ice Phoenix sword and had already charged behind Princess Wolfeng. Boom, clang. But at this moment, accompanied by two loud sounds, the Fire Phoenix Divine Jade and the Fire Phoenix Sword both appeared. The divine power of the two sovereign divine weapons immediately erupted like a volcano, blasting towards Bing Runing and the Ice Phoenix Sword. The Ice Phoenix Sword was shocked and hurriedly opened a barrier to protect Bing Runing. Boom! The divine power arrived. Bing Runing and the Ice Phoenix Sword were blasted away on the spot. Despite the explosion of the Ice Phoenix Sword, Bing Runing spat out another mouthful of blood. At this moment, her hair was disheveled and her body was stained with blood. Half kneeling in the void, she looked extremely miserable. Chapter 3576. Fire Phoenix Sword, Fire Phoenix Divine Jade. At this moment, not only the white-haired old woman, but even the dragons group could not help but shrink their pupils. These were the sovereign divine weapons of the Fire Feng people. The Fire Feng people actually gave her two sovereign divine weapons to protect herself? She was indeed the apple of his eye. It can't be. She actually has two sovereign divine weapons. The spectators were even more shocked, especially Elder Hua, the alliance leader, and He Zhongtian. The fact that Bing Runing had a ruler's divine weapon was already shocking enough. However, the first princess had two of them with her. The Feng people were really terrifying. It was estimated that the foundation of the Feng people was not inferior to the dragons. Elder Hua and the others knew about the existence of the Feng people and the dragons, but the leaders of the Heavenly Palace did not know. As the ruler of the northern continent, the Heavenly Palace also had countless spies hidden in various continents. In fact, they had also been investigating the details of the Dragons group since a long time ago. However, no matter how hard they tried, they could not find anything. Because of this, currently, the four superpowers of the Sky Cloud realm, the Heavenly Palace, the Divine Palace, the Demon Palace, and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Only the Heavenly Palace knew nothing about them. Of course, it was also good that they did not know. After all, the Heavenly Palace had not been implicated until now. However, the scene in front of them made the doubts in their hearts soar to another level. Don't ask for a rebuff, Princess Wolfeng said lightly with her back facing Bing Runing. Bing Runing half knelt in the void. Looking at the back of Princess Wolfeng, her face was incomparably ferocious. She shouted, "Give me the Profound Ice Divine Hammer and Profound Ice Divine Bow." The middle-aged man and the others trembled and quickly flew to Bing Runing's side and whispered, "Your Highness, let's stop here. Give it to me." Bing Runing stretched out her hand and glared at the two. "Your Highness, this is really not possible." The middle-aged man and the white-haired old man shook their heads. Because the Profound Ice Divine Hammer and Profound Ice Divine Bow were in their hands, Princess Wolfeng had already shown mercy. If Bing Runing continued to cause trouble, not only would she completely infuriate the first princess, but she would also infuriate the Fire Phoenix clan's patriarch. Although the Fire Feng people's chief was a person who prioritized the overall situation, it didn't mean that he didn't have a temper. "Are you also going to disobey my orders?" Bing Runing roared. "Your Highness, calm down. If this goes on, you'll go mad. We were in the wrong to begin with. Not only is the first princess being merciful to you, but she also didn't publicize the fact that you killed her and framed Qin Feiyong. This is already giving us enough face. Your Highness, please stop. Even if you don't think for yourself, you have to think for our Ice Phoenix clan. Let's not talk about the patriarch of the Fire Phoenix clan. Let's talk about Feng Ho. Feng Ho's heart is as clear as a mirror. He definitely knows that you killed the eldest princess. The reason why he didn't do anything is because he doesn't want to interfere with the matters of the younger generation. However, if you continue to cause trouble like this, the Phoenix Empress will become furious. At that time, you will not be the only one who will be implicated. Our entire Ice Phoenix clan will also be implicated. The white-haired old woman and the other two tried to persuade Bing Runing. Feng Ho. Bing Runing's eyes trembled. She wasn't afraid of the Fire Feng people's chief, but she had to be afraid of Feng Ho. This was because Feng Ho was the supreme existence of the Feng people. If Feng Ho was angry, even her father, the patriarch of the Ice Phoenix clan, would have to kneel on the ground and beg for mercy. What's the difference between you and those clowns now? Princess Huofeng slowly turned around and looked at Bing Runing, shaking her head in disappointment. You? Bing Runing was burning with anger. First Princess, please forgive us. The white-haired old woman and the other two bowed. Princess Huofeng glanced at the three, then looked at Bing Runing again and said lightly, the dragons are watching over there. Don't embarrass the Feng people. After saying that, Princess Huofeng turned around and landed beside Pyrotechnic Glow. The Fire Phoenix Sword and Fire Phoenix Jade also returned to her body. Sister, you're awesome. Pyrotechnic Glow chuckled. Princess Huofeng rolled her eyes at him and looked at Bing Runing quietly. This woman's character is really bad. Isn't that so? The other party has already shown mercy, but she's still pestering endlessly. She's unreasonable. The onlookers couldn't help but shake their heads, their eyes full of disdain. Compared to Qin Feiyang's character, the difference was like heaven and earth. Because no matter what Qin Feiyang did, no matter who he had a grudge with, he would never implicate the innocent. Sometimes, he would even come out to help the innocent. Bing Runing was already furious, and hearing these discussions, one could imagine how she felt. Clang! The Ice Phoenix sword burst out with a powerful divine aura that enveloped all directions. You ants, what right do you have to talk about this princess? Killing intent surged in her eyes, and the Ice Phoenix sword burst out a sword shadow that tore the sky and earth apart, slashing towards the crowd in front of her. What? She's angry and wants to attack us? Everyone's expression changed. Princess Huofeng and Pyrotechnic Glow raised their brows and were about to stop her. But at this moment, Qin Feiyang suddenly stood up and used the space-time step to block in front of the crowd. Qin Feiyang. Looking at Qin Feiyang's back, the panicking crowd immediately felt as if they had eaten a calming pill. Qin Feiyang looked up at the sword shadow, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. With a clang, the Death God's sword appeared and slashed towards the sword shadow. Boom! The sword shadow collapsed on the spot. The ripples that were created were instantly erased by the Death God's sword. If the ripples were not suppressed, many lives would be lost. Qin Feiyang. It was fine if Qin Feiyang didn't make a move, but once he did, he completely enraged Bing Runing. Because in her opinion, all of this was caused by Qin Feiyang. If Qin Feiyang hadn't protected Princess Huofeng's remnant soul, would this scene have happened? Are you sure you want to attack me? You have to know that we are not in the heavy region. Even if you have 3 sovereign divine weapons, I can still make you go back lying down. Qin Feiyang said lightly. Domineering. Everyone's heart trembled. In this world, who would dare to say such arrogant words in the face of 3 sovereign divine weapons? You want us to go back lying down? Haha. Bing Runing laughed crazily. The white-haired old woman and the other two were also furious. But at the same time, there was a trace of fear. In the past few days in the Eastern continent, they had inquired about what Qin Feiyang had done in the Sky Cloud realm. Before coming out of the heavy region, they didn't put Qin Feiyang in their eyes. Even if he had a sovereign divine weapon, so what? But when they learned about Qin Feiyang's means to deal with the dragons and that Qin Feiyang had a sovereign divine weapon and a divine art that was comparable to a sovereign divine weapon, they began to fear Qin Feiyang. Although Qin Feiyang's foundation was not as good as the Feng people, these terrifying means were enough to make anyone in the world feel fear. Most importantly, now, the eldest princess of the Feng people was obviously standing with Qin Feiyang. The eldest princess had 2 sovereign divine weapons, plus pyrotechnic glow, and pyrotechnic glow also had a sovereign divine weapon. Now, pyrotechnic glow would definitely stand with the eldest princess. The eldest princess, Hua Zihui, and Qin Feiyang. If they were to truly shed all pretense of cordiality, then to them, it would simply be a disaster. Be sensible. Don't embarrass yourself, and don't delay our final battle. At this time, the eldest prince of the dragons stood up and looked coldly at Bing Runing. Being ridiculed again and again, Bing Runing was about to go crazy. Suddenly, the white-haired old man raised his arm and slapped the back of Bing Runing's head like a blade. Bing Runing let out a muffled groan and fainted on the spot. What are you doing? The middle-aged man and the white-haired old woman looked at the white-clothed old man in shock and anger. The white-clothed old man said in a deep voice, "This is the only way to calm Her Highness down." Sigh. The white-haired old woman couldn't help but sigh. Knocking Her Highness out was indeed the best way. She then carried Bing Runing and silently retreated to the side with the middle-aged man and the white-haired old man. The Ice Phoenix sword also returned to Bing Runing's body. The first prince of the dragon race landed in front of Qin Feiyang. He looked at Qin Feiyang with an overbearing aura and said, "It's our turn now." Wait, I challenged him first. There should be a first-come, first-serve. Pyrotechnic Glow shouted. As soon as he said this, everyone looked at Pyrotechnic Glow. "Your Highness, what are you trying to do?" The Daifuku brothers also looked at Pyrotechnic Glow suspiciously. The misunderstanding had already been resolved. Why would he still fight Qin Feiyang? "I just want to see how strong he is," Hua Zihui secretly said. With one step, he arrived behind Qin Feiyang and excitedly said, "Let me have a taste of it." The eldest prince of the dragons raised his eyebrows. This person's IQ is really worrying. Who is Qin Feiyang? Is he someone you are qualified to challenge? Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the Thanatos returned to his body. He turned to look at Pyrotechnic Glow. Seeing Pyrotechnic Glow's eager look, he said helplessly, "Come find me when you have the ability to defeat your sister. Don't look down on me, okay? I'm still very strong." Pyrotechnic Glow felt wronged. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly and nodded. "All right, I'll satisfy your competitive spirit." "Hey!" Pyrotechnic Glow bared his teeth. Qin Feiyang took a step forward and instantly landed in front of Pyrotechnic Glow. "What are you doing?" "I'm not ready yet." Hua Zihui's expression turned flustered as he cried out. Everyone was speechless when they heard this. Princess Huafeng also immediately turned her head and looked away, as if she didn't know him. "Can you be more mature? Who will give you time to prepare in a battle? Do you think this is a game?" Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear to Hua Zihui. His palm descended, and Hua Zihui immediately let out an anguished howl. Like a meteorite, he smashed into the sea below. Everyone was stunned. That's it? He couldn't even withstand a single blow. The two middle-aged women frowned and looked at the eldest princess. "Don't look at me." He asked for it. The eldest princess snorted coldly. The two women looked at each other and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Splash! Accompanied by a huge wave, Pyrotechnic Glow rushed out of the sea and glared at Qin Feiyang. "You cheated. Cheated." Qin Feiyang looked at this person in a daze. Is this a joke? Chapter 3577. The onlookers couldn't help but laugh as well. It was a little funny. However, compared to the unreasonable Bing Runing, they couldn't help but have a good impression of Pyrotechnic Glow. "Get over here." As the older sister, Princess Huafeng couldn't stand it any longer and shouted, "No." Pyrotechnic Glow shook his head. "You want me to say it again?" Princess Huafeng's face darkened, and her eyes revealed a trace of unfriendliness. Pyrotechnic Glow shrunk his neck, looked at Qin Feiyang, and said arrogantly, next time, we'll fight fair and square." After saying this, he ran over to Princess Huafeng's side, his face full of flattery. "I haven't seen you for a while. How did you become prettier again? How many handsome young men will be charmed by you?" Princess Huafeng didn't know whether to laugh or cry when she heard this. This twin brother of hers was truly a headache. This farce is finally over. The first prince of the dragons retracted his gaze and looked at Qin Feiyong. Do you still remember our agreement? I don't think I need to say it again. Let's begin. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. Brother, what agreement did they have before? A youth in the crowd looked at a middle-aged man next to him and asked curiously, I'm not their little follower. How would I know? The middle-aged man rolled his eyes, thought for a moment, and said in a low voice, however, I think that there should be some sort of wager for this battle. Wager? For people of their level, if there's really a wager, it's definitely not ordinary. Another person at the side interrupted. Yes. Hearing this, everyone nodded in agreement. Boom. Qin Feiyong and the first prince of the dragons released their auras at almost the same time. They were both perfect rulers. The young man who had his eyes closed finally opened his eyes again and looked at Qin Feiyong and the first prince of the dragons. Although he still looked sleepy, there was a trace of expectation in his eyes. Who do you think will win this battle, Big Brother or Qin Feiyong? The second princess of the dragons transmitted her voice. It should be Big Brother. After all, he inherited the supreme inheritance of the Golden Dragon clan. The fourth prince pondered for a while and then said to himself, not necessarily. After all, Qin Feiyong has now mastered the paramount mysteries of two supreme laws. The third prince shook his head. In any case, no matter who wins, he can forget about leaving White Crane Island alive today. The young man in red snorted coldly. Why did they come? They were here to kill Qin Feiyong. Don't disappoint me. Meanwhile, the little princess of the dragons looked at the two people on the battlefield and muttered to herself. She had been waiting for this battle between Qin Feiyong and the first prince of the dragons for a long time. If Qin Feiyong could really kill the first prince, one of her wishes would be fulfilled. The two old women standing behind the little princess looked at the little princess of the dragons and then looked at the first princess of the dragons. They couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Some knots in one's heart could be untied as long as one thought it through. However, some knots in one's heart could only be untied after seeing the other person die. The knot in the little princess' heart belonged to the latter. Whoosh! Suddenly, Qin Feiyong and the first prince of the dragons, who were standing in the air, turned into streaks of light. Their speed was hard to catch with the naked eye, and they collided in an instant. Boom! The two fists collided with a loud bang. A terrifying shockwave burst out, and the surrounding void began to collapse crazily. After the collision, the two were forced back and once again charged at each other. In less than 10 breaths, the two had exchanged hundreds of blows. This speed was simply astonishing. What's going on? Little Qinzi's physical body has already broken through the limit and reached the supreme being level. How can the first prince still fight so fiercely with him? The white-eyed wolf raised his eyebrows. Long Chun smiled faintly and said, This is just the warm-up stage. Brother Qin hasn't activated his physical strength and defense yet. Of course, the first prince hasn't shown his true strength either. You know the first prince's strength? The white-eyed wolf looked at him suspiciously. Of course I know. Long Chun nodded. Then how strong is he now? The white-eyed wolf was curious. It's meaningless to say it out loud. Let's just watch quietly. Brother Qin might be caught in a tough battle. Long Chun smiled. A tough battle? The white-eyed wolf didn't think so. Although the first prince of the dragons had obtained the supreme inheritance, Qin Feiyong's strength was also improving. Bang! Bang! Boom! The two continued to exchange blows in the air. Their figures intertwined, and their divine power surged. It was dazzling to watch. Gradually, everyone noticed that Qin Feiyong was frowning. What's going on? Is little Qinzi really going to be caught in a tough battle? The white-eyed wolf frowned. Actually, that wasn't the case. Qin Feiyong frowned because he discovered that the current dragon race's first prince was like a completely different person compared to the previous 2 times they fought. The last 2 times, the first prince of the dragon's combat awareness and experience were quite ordinary. Anyone could be better than him. But this time, the first prince of the dragon's combat awareness and experience were not inferior to Qin Feiyong's. Hundreds of breaths passed. Accompanied by loud rumbling sounds, the two had already exchanged thousands of blows. Qin Feiyong was finally certain that the first prince of the dragon's combat awareness and experience were superior. He was definitely not a flower that grew up in a greenhouse. In other words, the former first prince of the dragon clan had always been concealing his strength, always showing weakness in front of him. But why? Wait, could it be, as the little princess of the dragon clan had said, that everything the first prince of the dragon clan had done was just to obtain the supreme inheritance of the golden dragon clan? Bang! After another few thousand rounds, the two of them threw punches at each other and staggered back. Qin Feiyong took a deep breath, looked at the first prince of the dragons and said, "You've really put in a lot of effort." "What do you mean?" The first prince of the dragons was taken aback and looked at Qin Feiyong in confusion. Qin Feiyong said indifferently, "The successor of the Golden Dragon Clan's patriarch and the supreme inheritance of the Golden Dragon Clan. Do you really need me to say these things?" The first prince of the dragon's pupils shrank. "I was so complacent. Little did I know that I had already fallen into your trap and become your chess piece. I admit that I really underestimated you. But shouldn't you thank me? After all, I'm the one who helped you," Qin Feiyong said. Hearing this, the first prince of the dragons fell silent. What does he mean by that? How did he become this person's chess piece? Everyone looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. The two old women standing behind the little princess heard Qin Feiyong's words and sighed deeply. They looked at the little princess of the dragons and said, "Your Highness, you really have great foresight." "I was just guessing. I just didn't expect it to be true," the little princess whispered. "It seems that we have all underestimated the first prince before." One of the old women shook her head. "I have never underestimated him." A cold light flashed in the little princess' eyes. At the same time, the second princess of the dragons and the others couldn't help but frown. Outsiders didn't know what was going on, but they were different. When they heard Qin Feiyong mention the successor of the Golden Dragon Clan's patriarch and the supreme inheritance of the Golden Dragon Clan, they thought of a lot. This big brother's scheming was really terrifying, but it was also quite satisfying, because at least they had seen with their own eyes that Qin Feiyong was ruthlessly schemed against by this big brother. "Ha!" The first prince of the dragons suddenly laughed and looked at Qin Feiyong in admiration. "You can even see through this matter, as expected of the person who opened the eye of heaven. Then you should also know the price of using me." A cold light burst out from Qin Feiyong's eyes. "Then you should also know that the current me is no longer the man who could be easily defeated by you." The first prince of the dragons confronted each other with a bone-piercing sharpness in his eyes. "Then give it a try." As Qin Feiyong's voice fell, a powerful aura roared out from his body. This was the aura of his physical body and strength. The sky trembled and the void cracked, as if even this world couldn't withstand his terrifying strength and physical body. What kind of aura is this? What a strong pressure! Everyone's eyes trembled. As Qin Feiyong took a step forward, his body erupted with dazzling divine light, as if a peerless divine weapon had been unsheathed, destroying everything in all directions. "He's finally starting to get serious," Long Chun muttered. In the end, he's still just an ant. The fire dragon lying on Long Chin's shoulder sneered. Long Chun didn't reprimand them. He just calmly watched. Then he looked at the first prince of the dragons. In the face of Qin Feiyong's powerful pressure, he didn't retreat in the slightest. He took a step forward and punched out with his bare hands. Seeing this, the white-eyed wolf couldn't help but want to laugh. Now he's going to fight Qin Feiyong head-on? Isn't this courting death? In just an instant, the two fists collided. It was also at this moment that an incomparable aura rushed out from the first prince of the dragon's body. Immediately after, a terrifying force roared out from the fists like a tide. Accompanied by a loud bang, the two's bodies shook and retreated at the same time. A bloody taste gushed out from their throats, and then they spat out a mouthful of blood. "What?" The white-eyed wolf suddenly stood up and looked at the first prince of the dragons in horror. "This body, this strength, is not inferior to little Qinzi's and has also broken the limit of the body?" Qin Feiyong was also shocked. As the first prince of the dragon's opponent, He felt that this person had definitely broken the limit of the body. This was something he never expected, because in the sky cloud realm for so many years, he had never heard of anyone who could break the limit of the body. Therefore, he had always thought that only he and the white-eyed wolf had broken the limit of the body. The first prince of the dragons said contemptuously, "Surprised? But you also surprised me. The last time you tricked me to White Crane Island, you hadn't broken the limit of the body." Broken the limit of the body. What kind of monsters are these two? Even this can be done? Once the limit of the body is broken, the body is comparable to a heaven-defying divine artifact. What? Comparable to a heaven-defying divine artifact? Then, with their current body, can't they directly confront a heaven-defying divine artifact? That's right. Everyone was shocked. This was unbelievable. Breaking the limit of the body had always been a legendary existence, but they didn't expect that someone could really do it. Chapter 3578. Breaking the limits of the physical body was an ethereal legend for many people, because it was too difficult. No one had ever done it and succeeded. But at this moment, the two people in front of him actually broke the limits of the physical body. It was hard to imagine how they did it. It was comparable to a heaven-defying artifact. With such a physical body, who could be a match for it? Boom! Qin Feiyong and the Crown Prince of the Dragons collided once again. This was a contest of physical strength. The power of each punch was enough to shatter a mountain and river. Moreover, as the battle continued, their aura and strength became more and more terrifying. Boom! All of a sudden, Qin Feiyong's strength once again rose to a new height. In fact, before this, he did not fully activate the strength of his physical body. At first, it was only at the low-level heaven-defying level. However, he found that the Crown Prince of the Dragons seemed to be holding back his strength, so he continued to strengthen it. At this moment, his physical body and strength had already reached the high-level heaven-defying level. But even so, the Crown Prince of the Dragons was completely at ease. In short, Qin Feiyong increased his strength, and so did the Crown Prince of the Dragons. The two were completely evenly matched. Boom! Qin Feiyong's gaze trembled. The power hidden in his body once again erupted. Amazing! In just a few years, not only did you break the limits of your physical body, but you also raised it to the peak heaven-defying level. However, you want to suppress me with this? You're dreaming. The Crown Prince of the Dragons sneered. The strength of his physical body also increased again, and in an instant, it rose to the legendary heaven-defying level. Boom! The two's fists collided. Qin Feiyong spat out a mouthful of blood, and his whole body was immediately sent flying. The onlookers were dumbfounded. Qin Feiyong was actually no match for the Crown Prince of the Dragons? The Crown Prince of the Dragons laughed and said, "You didn't expect that my physical body would be so much stronger than yours." Legendary level heaven-defying. Qin Feiyong stabilized his body and looked at the dragon race's first prince, whose face was filled with arrogance. This person's strength surprised him time and time again. The legendary level? What do you mean? Some people were bewildered. Once the limits of the physical body are broken, the strength of the physical body can continue to increase. As for the strength of the physical body, it is said that it is divided into several levels, corresponding to the heaven-defying divine artifacts. The strength of the legendary level is comparable to a legendary level divine artifact. Some knowledgeable people began to explain, "What? It's comparable to a legendary divine artifact. I haven't even seen a legendary divine artifact in my entire life." Their physical bodies have already reached such a level? Another young man exclaimed, "What the hell? You haven't even seen a legendary divine artifact before? Are you from the countryside?" The group of people at the side was speechless. "Sorry, I'm from the countryside. Didn't I hear that my idol is going to have a duel with someone? That's why I came all the way here to see my idol." The young man smiled embarrassedly. "Idol?" Some people looked at him puzzledly. "My idol is Qin Feiyong. Let me tell you, there are tens of thousands of people in my village, regardless of gender, old or young. They all regard Qin Feiyang as their idol. The young man smiled proudly. Tens of thousands of people? Everyone looked at the young man speechlessly. What was there to be proud of? A village with tens of thousands of people was very common in the Sky Cloud realm. However, regarding Qin Feiyang as their idol, this was something that couldn't be refuted. Because many people in the Sky Cloud realm now regarded Qin Feiyang as their idol, especially some children and girls. When they heard the name Qin Feiyang, their eyes lit up. Now, they only hoped that the image of this idol wouldn't collapse here. After all, if Qin Feiyang was defeated here today, it would inevitably hurt the hearts of many young fans. Now, can you withstand the power of my punch? The Crown Prince of the Dragons laughed wildly. The heaven-defying strength and physical body of the legendary level made the sea within millions of miles tremble. He then raised his arm and punched at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. Wasn't it too early to be proud now? Originally, when he saw this person using him to obtain the supreme inheritance of the Golden Dragon clan, he was a little impressed. He should be a meticulous person who wasn't arrogant or rash. But he didn't expect that he would become arrogant and condescending after just taking a little advantage. It seemed that his playboy character couldn't be changed after all. In just a moment, the Crown Prince of the Dragons rushed in front of Qin Feiyang. A terrifying force rolled out like a torrent. The void around Qin Feiyang collapsed, but he didn't feel any pressure. What a joke. The strength of his physical body had reached the supremacy level. How could a mere legendary level power threaten him? Boom. As the Crown Prince of the Dragons punched, Qin Feiyang suddenly raised his arm and grabbed the fist of the Crown Prince of the Dragons. The aura and strength of his physical body erupted once again. What? The Crown Prince of the Dragons was shocked. This aura, this strength, was actually not the slightest bit weaker than his. How was this possible? It had only been a few years. No matter how heaven-defying his ability was, it was impossible to directly increase the strength of his physical body to the legendary level. But now, the strength he felt from Qin Feiyang's hand had indeed reached this level. How did he do it? Boom. As the two forces collided, the two took a few steps back. As expected of an idol, the strength of his physical body is no weaker than his opponent's. Many young men and women shouted excitedly, "It's indeed powerful." The others also nodded. But thinking about it carefully, it didn't seem to be anything new. Because it was basically like this. Every time Qin Feiyang disappeared for a period of time, his strength would improve greatly. Do you know the difference between you and me? Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked at the Crown Prince of the Dragons. The Crown Prince's face was gloomy. I don't care who my opponent is. Even if it's a mortal, I won't underestimate them. But you're different. Just because you have a slight advantage, you start to get carried away and don't put your opponent in your eyes. As the Crown Prince of the Dragons, as the successor of the Golden Dragon clan, as a Grand Perfect Dominator expert, I'm really surprised that you still have such an attitude. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Preaching to me? What qualifications do you have? The Crown Prince of the Dragons roared. With a monstrous aura, he madly attacked Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang's expression was extremely calm. He took a step forward and the two began to fight again. Dragons, Golden Dragon clan. It seems that the other party is really a divine dragon. Truly inconceivable. Our Sky Cloud realm still has a dragon. Could it be that they are the mysterious force hidden in the Ain Demon Land? Everyone stared at the Crown Prince of the Dragons, their eyes filled with awe. Not to mention anything else, just the identity of a divine dragon was enough to make people feel intimidated. Wait, did you guys notice? Every time Qin Feiyang spits out blood, it's actually purple gold. Suddenly, someone exclaimed in surprise. HM? Everyone was slightly stunned and looked at the corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth and the clothes on his body. Because Qin Feiyang was wearing white clothes, the purple gold dragon blood-stained areas were extremely eye-catching. It really was purple gold. What was going on? Why would a human's blood have such a strange color? The battle between Qin Feiyang and the Crown Prince of the Dragons became more and more intense. Both of them had different injuries on their bodies, blood sprinkling down. One of the drops of purple gold dragon blood fell on the face of an old man. The old man was stunned and raised his hand to wipe off the purple gold dragon blood. When he lowered his head and saw the blood on his finger, a trace of shock suddenly crept up on his face. There were also a few people next to the old man who noticed this scene. They looked at the purple gold dragon blood in surprise for a moment and exclaimed, "Am I dreaming? There's actually dragon aura." "What? Dragon aura?" His words shocked everyone in all directions. Many people nearby went up to check it out. People in other places also took the initiative to reach out and catch the purple gold dragon blood falling from the sky. There was indeed dragon aura, and this dragon aura was stronger and purer than the dragon aura of an ordinary divine dragon. I thought of a legend. Suddenly, a hoarse voice sounded. Everyone looked at a white-bearded old man. This white-bearded old man looked at Qin Feiyong in the sky, stroking the beard on his chin, looking unfathomable. "Isn't this the old man who told stories in the tea house? Old man, why are you here? The last time you were taken away, I thought you were dead. Don't pretend to be mysterious. Hurry up and tell us. What is the legend?" Someone recognized the old man's identity and said with contempt in his eyes. The white-bearded old man glanced at those people who were talking and laughed. "I didn't expect you to remember this, old man. How can we forget you? I haven't heard you tell stories for a few years. Even drinking tea is boring," someone said. The white-bearded old man laughed and raised his head to look at Qin Feiyong. He said, "Legend has it that many years ago, a purple gold divine dragon was born. The moment this purple gold divine dragon appeared, it caused a huge commotion. That's because no purple gold divine dragon has ever appeared in the sky cloud realm." "What do you mean? You mean this purple gold dragon is not from our sky cloud realm?" Someone was surprised. "There are rumors that say so. But rumors are just voice transmissions. Things that are not confirmed can't be believed." The white-bearded old man shook his head. "Then why did you say it?" Someone was dissatisfied. "This old man is a storyteller. What else can I say? Besides, isn't this what you asked me to say?" The white-bearded old man was dissatisfied. Okay, go on." Someone waved his hand. "Okay, since you want to hear it so much, then this old man will tell you about these rumors. It is said that this purple gold dragon was a woman, and for some reason, she fell in love with a human. You didn't hear it wrong, it was a human. But for many reasons, their union was opposed by many people. As a result, they faced a disaster and both husband and wife died. But it is said that they seem to have left behind descendants." When the white-bearded old man said this, he looked at Qin Feiyong with a trace of doubt in his eyes. The remaining 2 chapters will be released at 10:30. Chapter 3579. What? The purple gold divine dragon fell in love with a human and left behind a descendant? Everyone looked at each other. Not far away, when Elder Hua and the others heard this, they looked at the white-bearded old man with flickering eyes. This old man seemed to be talking nonsense, but when they thought about it carefully, they felt that he was describing a fact. The demon hall master's eyes flashed. He turned to look at Chu Yun and asked in a low voice, "Xiao Yun, when you guys dealt with the first prince of the dragons last time, did this old man act differently?" "No. You've always looked like a coward." Chu Yun shook her head. "Timid." The demon hall master pondered for a while and frowned. "But why does he not seem like a timid person?" Chu Yun glanced at the white-bearded old man and said indifferently, "He's just a storyteller. What's there to pay attention to?" The demon hall master and Elder Hua looked at each other and did not say anything else. Suddenly, someone exclaimed, "Old man, are you saying that Qin Feiyong is their descendant, and the blood flowing out of him is also the purple gold dragon blood?" "I didn't say that Qin Feiyong is their descendant. We can't talk nonsense about things that we can't be sure of." The white-bearded old man quickly waved his hand and said, "But what we can be sure of is that the blood flowing out of him is the legendary purple gold dragon blood." Purple gold dragon blood. Everyone's eyes trembled. If that was the case, wouldn't Qin Feiyong be their descendant? The descendant of a purple gold divine dragon and a human. Why did this sound a little mysterious? High up in the sky, Qin Feiyang and the first prince of the dragons both displayed astonishing battle awareness. They fought back and forth, unable to tolerate each other. Rain poured down from the sky. However, no matter how heavy the rain was, it could not get close to them, because before it could get close, it had already been evaporated by their powerful auras. It seems that the strength of the legendary level is already your limit. The first prince of the dragons smiled coldly. The aura and strength of his physical body surged crazily again. In the blink of an eye, he had reached the supreme level. Boom. Following closely, his eyes were filled with contempt as he punched towards Qin Feiyang's head. This can't be the heaven-defying strength of the supreme stage, right? Obviously, it is, because the Crown Prince's strength is enough to make me, a perfect sovereign realm expert, feel an intense sense of danger. What kind of monster is this? He actually improved his physical body to such a level. This is an existence that I can only look up to in my entire life. Everyone was extremely shocked. Facing such a powerful Crown Prince of the Dragons, did Qin Feiyang have any chance of winning? But as soon as this thought appeared, another powerful aura erupted. Everyone looked at Qin Feiyang again, and they were slightly stunned. His physical body had also reached such a level? Boom. In the sky, Qin Feiyang's gaze was as sharp as a blade as he punched towards the first prince of the dragon's fist. Both of them were emitting dazzling divine light, as if they were in the state of awakening divine weapons. It was extremely terrifying. Accompanied by a loud boom, the two fists collided violently. A shocking power immediately rolled out from the two of them, shattering the void for tens of millions of miles. This is simply a scene of the end of the world. It's too terrifying. Everyone was shocked. The various powerhouses could no longer stand by and watch. For example, the Eastern Continent's Elder Hua and the other two, the Western Continent's Alliance Master and the other two, the Southern Continent's He Zhongtian, the Northern Continent's Sky Hall's powerhouses. They all stood up and protected the surrounding spectators. This was because the battle was very intense. Among these people, many had not reached the perfect sovereign realm, and many were even at the imperishable realm. With their cultivation, they could not withstand the shockwaves of the battle between Qin Feiyang and the first prince of the dragons. In the sky, Qin Feiyang and the first prince of the dragons were like two gods of war. Their clothes and long hair fluttered in the wind as two invisible forces collided violently between their fists. However, compared to the calm and composed Qin Feiyang, the first prince of the dragon's expression was a little ferocious. This person's physical body had actually reached the supreme level of heaven-defying strength. Originally, when he saw that Qin Feiyang had maintained the heaven-defying strength of the legendary level, he thought that Qin Feiyang's physical body had only reached this level. In the eyes of others, the heaven-defying strength of the legendary level was a godlike existence. However, in the first prince's eyes, it could not withstand a single blow. He had already planned to use the strength of his physical body to give Qin Feiyang a fatal blow. However, he never expected that Qin Feiyang would be so good at hiding his true strength. How did you do it? I spent hundreds of thousands of years to raise the strength of my physical body to the supreme level of heaven-defying strength. But you, in just a few years, raised the strength of your physical body to this level. I cannot accept this. The first prince of the dragons roared as if he had gone mad. He had already planned that this time, not only would he defeat Qin Feiyang to wash away his shame, but he would also make Qin Feiyang lose all face. Even if he was lucky enough to survive, he would not dare to raise his head in front of others in the future. But who would have thought that Qin Feiyang's physical strength was not inferior to his at all? Who said that I had to spend hundreds of thousands of years like you? If I have to give you a reason, then I can only say that I worked harder than you, Qin Feiyang said indifferently. Worked harder than me? Do you know how much effort and sweat I put in to become stronger and inherit the position of the Golden Dragon Clan's patriarch? When the other brothers and sisters were eating, drinking, and playing, I was cultivating. When the other brothers and sisters were acting spoiled in front of their parents, I was also cultivating. All the time, I was thinking about how to become stronger. You still dare to say that you worked harder than me? What a joke. The first prince of the dragons roared as the power in his body surged out like a raging torrent. There's a saying that you don't know? There's always someone better than you. Just when you think that your path will be filled with difficulties, in some other places, some other people will have to walk a path that is even more difficult than yours. Qin Feiyang said indifferently as power surged out like a tide. Rumble. When the two forces met, the two immediately retreated. What you said might make sense, but I don't see it. I only see my own hardships. So today, you must fall at my feet. The first prince of the dragons roared as a terrifying aura erupted from his body. In the next moment, his cultivation soared to the peak ruler realm. So what if your physical body is strong? In the face of absolute suppression of cultivation, you can only kneel and beg for mercy. At this moment, the first prince of the dragons was like a mad bull. His fists were like meteors as they flew toward Qin Feiyang. It can't be. He's hiding his cultivation. Peak ruler realm. He's one level higher than Qin Feiyang. Isn't this a one-sided situation? Seeing Qin Feiyang being beaten back by the first prince of the dragons, many people couldn't help but worry for Qin Feiyang. Sister, this person's strength isn't all that great. Pyrotechnic glow pursed his lips. Not all that great? You were slapped into the sea by him? Princess Huofeng rolled her eyes at him. That's because his physical body is very strong. Putting aside his physical body, he's just average. Pyrotechnic glow smiled disdainfully. Idiot. Princess Huofeng couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with this idiot. Why are you cursing? Pyrotechnic glow was dissatisfied. Daifuku chuckled. Your Highness isn't wrong. Daifuku, what do you mean? Pyrotechnic glow frowned. Daifuku said, Your Highness, think about it. If it's really as you say, Qin Feiyang is just an ordinary human, then can he break the limits of his physical body? Pyrotechnic glow was speechless for a moment. He pursed his lips and said, He's just lucky. Lucky? Daifuku didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Breaking the limits of the physical body just because he was lucky? This statement was too naive. Princess Huofeng said indifferently, Daifuku, don't talk nonsense with this idiot, lest you lower your own intelligence. Sister, you're attacking me personally. If we weren't born of the same parents, I would have fallen out with you. When Pyrotechnic Glow heard this, a trace of anger appeared on his face. I'm also puzzled. Why is the difference so big even though we're both born of the same parents? Princess Huofeng shook her head and sighed. Pyrotechnic Glow was so angry that he gritted his teeth. Daifuku, Xiaofu, and the two women couldn't help but laugh. These two siblings were really enemies, fighting each other whenever they didn't agree. On the other side, the white-haired old woman, the white-haired old man, and the middle-aged man had been watching the battlefield. Seeing Qin Feiyang getting more and more embarrassed by the dragon's crown prince, they felt quite comfortable. Suddenly, a murmur sounded. The three of them immediately looked at Bing Runing, who was floating next to them. They saw Bing Runing's eyelids move and slowly open her eyes. What's going on? My head hurts. It seems like I was hit by someone. Bing Runing got up, rubbed the back of her head and frowned. It was me. The white-haired old man said. You? Bing Runing was stunned. She looked at the white-haired old man and said angrily, Why? Your Highness, you really need to calm down. The white-haired old man sighed. The white-haired old woman and the middle-aged man also nodded. Humph. Bing Runing glanced at the three of them and snorted. She looked up at the battlefield in the sky and was stunned. The dragon's crown prince is actually a perfected dominator. Moreover, both of them have broken the limits of their physical bodies. However, judging from the current situation, Qin Feiyang is definitely going to die. The white-haired old woman laughed sinisterly. A perfected dominator? Bing Runing looked at the dragon race's gambling prince in astonishment. She then looked at Qin Feiyang, who was in a sorry state, and sneered. It's best if you cut him into 1,000 pieces and grind his bones to dust. However, I haven't seen them activate their profound laws or sovereign divine weapons. They probably still have some tricks up their sleeves. The white-haired old man was relatively rational. Qin Feiyong dared to fight the dragon's crown prince, so he must have made sufficient preparations. In his opinion, the outcome of this battle was still hard to predict. However, he didn't say it out loud, fearing that Bing Runing would be dissatisfied. Chapter 3580. High up in the sky, Qin Feiyong was covered in blood and wounds. The crown prince of the dragons was the complete opposite. His momentum was unstoppable. I swore in my heart more than once that in this battle, I will let you have a taste of being trampled on. Now, it's time for you to have a taste. Accompanied by a loud laugh, the crown prince of the dragons waved his hand, and a thunderous force surged out from his palm. The law of thunder. He had finally activated the law of thunder. Boom. The crown prince of the dragons slammed his palm on Qin Feiyong's chest. The thunderous force contained an unstoppable force and instantly pierced through Qin Feiyong's chest, leaving a fist-sized bloody hole. He spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot and was sent flying. What's going on? Why isn't Qin Feiyong activating the law of thunder? Is he just waiting to be beaten up? What do you know? Facing the difference in cultivation, even if he activates the law of thunder, it won't help. I know that even the law of thunder cannot make up for the difference in cultivation, but rumor has it that Qin Feiyong has mastered the karma law of thunder's ultimate mystery. The ultimate mystery. Even if there is a difference of a small realm, it can still easily crush him. Seeing this scene, some people in the crowd began to argue. What? Why aren't you activating your ultimate mystery? Who are you looking down on? The crown prince of the dragons roared. The law of thunder turned into a terrifying thunderous force, covering the sky as it crazily charged at Qin Feiyong. Boom! Right at this moment, Qin Feiyong waved his big hand, and 10 golden lotuses appeared in the sky. Then, they crushed the power of the thunderbolts in the void and shattered them. Following closely, the 10 golden lotuses charged at the crown prince of the dragons. Did you see that? This is the karma law of thunder's ultimate mystery. It is indeed an invincible existence. Everyone was excited. So what if the crown prince of the dragons is strong? Everyone knew that cultivation was indeed an inseparable part of the sovereign realm, but the most important part was still the comprehension of the laws. Take the karma laws, for example. Unless one possessed a karma law of the same level, who would be able to compete with it? That's how it should be. If it's too easy to defeat you, then it won't be interesting. When the crown prince of the dragons saw the 10 golden lotuses, he was not nervous. Instead, he was excited. Rumble. Woo-woo. Accompanied by gusts of wind, an eye of lightning formed above the head of the first dragons. Thunder roared all around, like the eye of the heavens, exuding an aura of destruction. This is the supreme profundity of the laws of lightning. Everyone was stunned. The first prince of the dragon clan swept his gaze over the crowd below. He looked at Qin Feiyong with an aggressive gaze and sneered. There are many people here who regard you as their idol. Today, I will break your idol's image in front of them and make you beg for mercy on the ground like a dog. As soon as he finished speaking, streaks of destructive lightning appeared and blasted toward the 10 golden lotuses. Rumble. A series of deafening noises immediately resounded in this world. The ultimate mystery of the ultimate mystery was indeed not something that ordinary laws could compare to. The destructive lightning continued to shatter. That's it. I thought it would be strong, but it turns out that it's just this. How dare you speak so arrogantly and make Qin Feiyong beg for mercy with just this little trick? You're overestimating yourself. Everyone immediately mocked. The crown prince of the dragons smirked and scanned the countless spectators. He said with disdain, "My tricks are not something that ants like you can imagine." Boom. Before he finished speaking, a terrifying aura accompanied by a destructive force rushed out of the crown prince of the dragon's body and rushed in all directions. The law of destruction? Everyone was surprised. Ultimate mystery, god of destruction. The crown prince of the dragons roared and a huge statue appeared above his head. The destructive aura instantly shrouded everyone present. Everyone was dumbfounded. This person not only mastered the ultimate mystery of the laws of lightning, but also the ultimate mystery of the laws of destruction. In this case, wouldn't Qin Feiyang be in danger? The law of destruction was also an ultimate mystery and was on par with the law of cause and effect. Coupled with the difference in cultivation, wouldn't Qin Feiyang lose without a doubt? Then, they looked at Qin Feiyang opposite them. Looking at the god of destruction above the crown prince of the dragons, their eyes flickered. Could this be the ultimate inheritance that the crown prince of the dragons had obtained? Although he had yet to reveal his true strength, the methods that the crown prince of the dragons had displayed were already qualified to show disdain for others. A supreme-level physical body, the law of lightning, the law of destruction, two ultimate mysteries. With such methods, even people of the older generation like Elder Hua were no match for the crown prince of the dragons. Simply put, not counting the 4 forbidden areas, the crown prince of the dragon's current strength was enough to suppress an entire continent. Destroy. The crown prince of the dragons waved his hand, and the god of destruction raised his arm. A huge palm that could cover the sky came crashing down toward the 10 golden lotuses. With a loud cracking sound, the 10 golden lotuses shattered on the spot. Pooh! Qin Feiyang spat out a mouthful of blood and kept retreating. The shattering of a supreme profound intent brought about severe injuries. His complexion paled. Don't you have 3,000 incarnations? Don't you have the 6-word divine art? Bring them all out. Watch how I crush them one by one. The crown prince of the dragons became even more arrogant. With the ultimate mysteries of the law of destruction and the law of lightning, in addition to his advantage in cultivation, he was no longer afraid of Qin Feiyang's methods. Of course, the slaughter zone was an exception. However, the slaughter zone and the sovereign divine weapon were pre-agreed upon and could not be activated. Therefore, he was fearless now. The goddess of victory was standing behind him. Qin Feiyang remained silent. Boom! The ultimate mysteries of the law of destruction and the law of karma roared out at the same time. What? How did he master the ultimate mysteries of the law of destruction? When did this happen? Why have I never heard of it? Those who didn't know what was going on were all shocked. 2 ultimate mysteries of the ultimate mysteries. How shocking was that? Until now, they had never seen such an existence. Even people like Elder Hua had only mastered one ultimate mystery of the ultimate mysteries of the ultimate mysteries. In terms of comprehension, Qin Feiyang was far superior to the first prince of the dragons. In fact, he had surpassed all living beings on the various continents. Princess Huafeng said indifferently, "Brother, now you see it. Do you still think he's ordinary?" Pyrotechnic Glow's mouth was so dry that he couldn't say anything. The paramount profound meanings of 2 supreme laws. Even in Feng people, no one had ever seen such a monster. One of the women shook her head and said, "Although he possesses 2 supreme profundities of supreme laws, the difference in cultivation is still unbridgeable. Yeah, just one more step and he'll be able to fully mature. As long as he's given some more time to break through to the perfection sovereign realm, with his means, let alone the 4 great continents, even our 4 great forbidden zones wouldn't dare to underestimate him." The other woman nodded in agreement. It was true that he was a monster, but he was still a monster that had yet to mature. Right, right, right. Pyrotechnic Glow heard their words and nodded repeatedly. So what if he has comprehended more supreme profundities? He still can't turn the tables and turn defeat into victory. In fact, in his heart, he already felt a sense of fear toward Qin Feiyang. At such a young age, he had already grasped 2 supreme profundities of supreme laws. If he continued to grow, how powerful would he be? However, the first prince of the dragons wasn't surprised that Qin Feiyang had grasped 2 supreme profundities. The corners of his mouth were also full of disdain. The destruction god's giant hand carried an apocalyptic aura as it slammed toward the 2 supreme profundities. With a loud boom, Qin Feiyang's 2 supreme profundities were shattered on the spot. The next moment, the destruction god's giant hand slammed toward Qin Feiyang. Boom! In the nick of time, Qin Feiyang activated the battle formula and the law of war. However, in the face of the destruction god's giant hand, The armor formed by the battle formula shattered instantly with a crack. Dong. Following closely, Qin Feiyong was like a blood-stained meteorite as he crashed into the sea below, causing huge waves to surge. Long Chun took a sip of tea and looked at the white-eyed wolf with a smile. I told you that Brother Qin would be in for a tough battle. The white-eyed wolf was stunned and looked at Long Chun strangely. What? Is there a problem with what I said? Long Chun was suspicious. No problem, no problem. The white-eyed wolf shook his paws and sighed. I already told little Qinzi not to fight with that bullshit first prince before he breaks through to sovereign perfection, but he just won't listen. Long Chun smiled. Brother Qin is indeed a little careless regarding this matter. Isn't that so? But there's no other way. They've already started fighting. Now we can only pray to the heavens and hope for a miracle. The white-eyed wolf shook his head, but his eyes were full of smiles. Did he really think that little Qinzi would lose? Just wait, the best part was yet to come. Splash! Waves surged in the sea below. Qin Feiyong rushed out of a wave, his body dripping with blood. His face was pale, and his aura was very weak. If not for the dual protection of the battle character art and the law of war, he would have been doomed. However, it didn't matter, because everything was under control. Why didn't you activate your 3,000 clones? I heard that that's your true trump card. The first prince of the dragon clan looked down at Qin Feiyong, who was standing on the surface of the sea, and laughed loudly. Qin Feiyong, you have to do your best. We all have high hopes for you. Yes, quickly beat him up and shut him up. It's so annoying to listen to his chatter. The surrounding crowd roared. It's useless. No matter how strong he is, he won't be able to defeat the first prince of the dragons. Unless he can break through to the peak ruler realm now. If he really breaks through to the peak ruler realm, he'll be able to turn the situation around in an instant. But breaking through to the peak ruler realm isn't something that can be done so easily. Someone sighed. At least there are a few sensible people. The dragon race's crown prince raised his head and laughed heartily. Suddenly, he lowered his head and looked at Qin Feiyong. Killing intent burst out from his eyes as he said sinisterly, Your biggest mistake is coming to fight me before you even stepped into the great perfection's sovereign realm. The destruction god standing in the sky exuded a ferocious aura that intimidated everyone. Chapter 3581. Isn't this what you want? Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. The first prince of the dragons was slightly taken aback. How could he still be so calm? This face of his was really detestable. Boom. The destruction god took a step forward like a god descending to the world. His divine might was unfathomable. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed slightly. He glanced at Long Chun, then looked at the first prince of the dragons and said, If I'm not wrong, you should have heard from Long Chun that my cultivation is only at the perfected sovereign realm. That's why you challenged me. The white-eyed wolf heard this and turned to look at Long Chun. Long Chun smiled faintly and said, I just said it casually. It was Long Chun who had brought them out of the heavy region. So Long Chun knew about Qin Feiyong's cultivation. I just said it casually, but I think your motives are not pure. The white-eyed wolf sneered. The fire dragon sneered and said, If the god's son's motives were not pure, he wouldn't have saved you in the heavy region. The white-eyed wolf couldn't help but frown. This did make sense. The speaker didn't mean it, but the listener did. The first prince of the dragons seized the opportunity to challenge Qin Feiyong directly when Long Chun said it casually. This was because before Qin Feiyong stepped into the perfected sovereign realm, the first prince of the dragons had the ability to crush him with the supreme profundity of the law of destruction. Even if Qin Feiyong activated his 3,000 clones, he still wouldn't be able to turn the situation around. The first prince of the dragons nodded and said, That's right. I heard from the god's son that you're only at the perfected sovereign realm, so I immediately challenged you. Actually, you could have rejected it. But you also expected that I wouldn't reject it. Qin Feiyong said faintly, Yes, your pride won't allow you to reject someone's challenge, but sometimes pride can kill people. The first prince of the dragons sneered, Wrong. Qin Feiyong shook his head. Wrong? The first prince of the dragons was stunned and asked suspiciously, "What's wrong?" "You made a total of 4 mistakes. First, you overestimate me. Self-esteem and pride are nothing in my eyes. I know I'm not your match, so why would I accept your challenge? Isn't it good to live? Besides, when we made the agreement back then, we didn't say that the time of the challenge would be decided by you. So, as you said before, I can completely refuse. Secondly, when you challenged me, you shouldn't have chosen 10 days later. Because to me, a lot of things can happen in 10 days. But I can also think of the reason why you chose 10 days later. Because 10 days ago, when you challenged me, you weren't fully prepared. Thirdly, you shouldn't be confused by appearances, and you shouldn't let your pride get to your head. You can hide your cultivation and strength, so why can't I do the same? Fourthly, you shouldn't be so confident and reveal your true strength so early. I'm sure you've heard of the saying, "Know thyself and know thy enemy, and thou shalt be victorious in every battle." Throughout the entire process, Qin Feiyong's tone was extremely flat, as if he was narrating an unimportant matter. But when the first prince of the dragons heard these words, he immediately felt a sense of unease. This was because Qin Feiyong was far too calm at this moment. He could even sense a hint of mockery in his words. But the most terrifying part was the third part. You can hide your cultivation and strength, so why can't I? Could it be boom? Before the first prince of the dragon race could think of such a thing, a terrifying aura erupted like a volcano. The first prince of the dragons was stunned. As he had expected, this person was also hiding his cultivation. This is the aura of a great perfection dominator. I didn't expect Qin Feiyong to be a great perfection dominator. No wonder he didn't panic at all. The surrounding onlookers were also enlightened at this moment. So fast. He Zhongtian, who was standing beside the second princess of the dragons, muttered. The last time he came to Seven-Star City, Qin Feiyong was only a great perfection dominator, but in just 10 days, he had broken through to great perfection dominator without anyone noticing. It could be said that the exposure of Qin Feiyong's cultivation caused everyone present to feel extreme shock. Even Elder Hua and the other two were shocked. Although Elder Hua had sent a message to Qin Feiyong in the morning, he didn't pay attention to Qin Feiyong's cultivation. Even he thought that Qin Feiyong's cultivation was still at great perfection dominator. Of course, the ones who were the most shocked were Bing Runing and the second princess of the dragons. Although there was only one step between great perfection dominator and great perfection dominator, the difference was like heaven and earth. No matter how strong a great perfection dominator was, he would be suppressed by a great perfection dominator. However, once a great perfection dominator stepped into this realm, it was equivalent to stepping onto the top of the pyramid of the sky cloud realm. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that this step was like a carp leaping over the dragon gate. Especially for someone like Qin Feiyong who had grasped 2 supreme laws. Once he stepped into the great perfection dominator realm, he would be an invincible existence. Whether it was his status or identity, it would instantly soar by a large margin. It could be said that if it wasn't based on seniority and strength, even Elder Hua and the other big shots would have to respectfully address Qin Feiyong as senior. After stepping into the great perfection dominator realm, Qin Feiyong already had the ability to suppress all the super forces. Qin Feiyong stepped into the sky step by step and looked at the first prince of the dragons with a faint smile. I thought that victory was in my hands and I could trample on you as I wished, but I suddenly realized that everything was just my wishful thinking. I think it's hard for you to accept this fact now, right? The first prince of the dragons clenched his fists. Yes. He knew that Qin Feiyong's cultivation was still at the great perfection dominator realm, which was why he challenged him at this time. However, he never expected that Qin Feiyong had already broken through to the great perfection dominator realm. Moreover, Qin Feiyong had been holding back until now before revealing his true strength, which ruthlessly destroyed his confidence and arrogance. So now, you should know why I haven't activated my 3,000 incarnations. It's because you don't have the qualifications to make me activate my 3,000 incarnations. His words were still very calm, but everyone present couldn't help but tremble in their hearts. How much courage did one need to say such arrogant words to the first prince of the dragons? However, they had to admit that Qin Feiyong did indeed have the qualifications to say such words. As his voice fell, the supreme profundities of the laws of karma and the laws of destruction instantly appeared. A terrifying aura swept out in all directions like a tide. The heavens collapsed, the void was annihilated, and massive waves rose up in the sea. It was like the scene of the end of the world. Two supreme laws of supreme laws. Even we can only submit to them. Elder Hua smiled bitterly. However, he felt more gratified in his heart, because he didn't misjudge. How long had it been since Qin Feiyong entered the sky cloud realm? Now, he had grown into a giant. Now, if the experts of the four forbidden lands didn't appear, who could compete with this kid? Yes, for our demon hall, this is also a qualitative leap. The demon hall's hall master nodded. The demon hall's stance these years was a huge gamble, because whether it was facing the dragons or the Feng people, they chose to stand with Qin Feiyong. Especially when facing the dragons, Qin Feiyong hadn't grown yet. At that time, choosing to stand with Qin Feiyong was completely gambling with their lives. Fortunately, Qin Feiyong didn't disappoint them. Now, in the four continents, Qin Feiyong already had the absolute right to speak. His position was unshakable. I don't even have the qualifications to make him activate his 3,000 incarnations, the first prince of the dragons muttered to himself. In his heart, a monstrous anger erupted. What are you being arrogant for? Boom. The supreme profound of the destruction law and the thunder law roared out at the same time, carrying the power to destroy the world, crazily attacking Qin Feiyong. When Qin Feiyong revealed his true cultivation, he already knew that this battle could be declared over. However, he couldn't accept it. As the first prince of the dragons, as the successor of the Golden Dragon clan, he couldn't lose here, because he had already obtained the supreme profound and had promised his clan that he would definitely defeat Qin Feiyong. If he lost here today, not only would he suffer a fatal psychological trauma, but even the Golden Dragon clan wouldn't let him off easily. At that time, he, the high and mighty first prince, would definitely fall from the altar and become a street rat that everyone wanted to beat up. He couldn't help but collapse just thinking about such a miserable situation. Boom. In an instant, the four supreme profound collided with a loud explosion that shook the heavens and earth. The supreme profound of the thunder law was simply like a withered tree in the face of the supreme profound of the supreme profound. It collapsed instantly. Then, the two supreme profound blasted toward the god of destruction. The result was the same. In the face of the two supreme profound of the supreme profound, the first prince of the dragon's destruction law was extremely weak and shattered in the void. Puff. He coughed out a mouthful of blood as he retreated. His face was deathly pale. I'm not being arrogant. It's just that you've been traumatized and think that I'm being arrogant. Although compared to the other princes and princesses, you're indeed more outstanding in the end, you're still a good-for-nothing with a weak heart. Qin Feiyong shook his head. A terrifying aura shook the world. The two supreme profound blasted the sky like lightning and blasted toward the first prince of the dragons. Just as the first prince of the dragons was about to die under the supreme profound, a dazzling golden light suddenly erupted from his body. In the next instant, a golden barrier appeared, about 100 feet wide. The first prince of the dragons stood in the middle of the barrier and looked at the two supreme profound with a sinister smile. Boom. The two supreme profound blasted toward the golden barrier, but it only trembled a few times before returning to normal. What? What's that? Looking at this scene, the spectators were dumbfounded. This was too unbelievable. One had to know, those weren't ordinary laws, nor were they ordinary supreme profound. They were the karma law and the destruction law. How could he block them? He must be dreaming. Chapter 3582. Long Chun shook his head and said, "White-eyed wolf, you're not being honest." "What do you mean?" The white-eyed wolf looked at Long Chun suspiciously. Brother Qin broke through to the sovereign realm and kept it from me. When I said that Brother Qin would be in a tough battle, you must have mocked me in your heart. Long Chun was helpless. Haha, the white-eyed wolf laughed. Long Chun rolled his eyes and looked at the golden barrier. He smiled and said, however, with this golden dragon domain, even if Brother Qin breaks through to the sovereign realm, he'll still be in a tough battle. Golden dragon domain, fire dragon domain. These things seem to be forbidden techniques. It's supported by vitality. It's fine if you use it to escape, but if you use it to fight, you'll just be digging your own grave. The white-eyed wolf smiled disdainfully. Long Chun was slightly stunned and looked at the white-eyed wolf in surprise. The white-eyed wolf said indifferently, "Don't look at me like that. It's not like I haven't fought with dragons before." Long Chun laughed involuntarily. He then looked at the dragon crown prince in the golden dragon domain and muttered, "How are you going to break out of this deadlock?" It was just as the white-eyed wolf said. The golden dragon's domain and the fire dragon's domain might be useful for escaping, but using them in a battle was simply courting death. This was because you had to use vitality as the price to maintain the golden dragon domain. You didn't have the qualifications to continue fighting. For example now, although Qin Feiyang couldn't break out of the golden dragon domain, as long as he delayed the dragon crown prince, he would be the final victor. This was because he only needed to delay. Once the first prince of the dragon clan ran out of life force, the golden dragon domain would disappear. Therefore, he didn't need to forcefully break out of the golden dragon domain. Do you think I'll escape? Let me tell you, I won't. The first prince of the dragons roared, and the power of various laws surged out. The law of destruction, the law of lightning, and the law of death. Among the remaining 4 laws, there was actually one of the strongest laws. Obviously, the law of death was something the crown prince of the dragons had truly comprehended on his own. As for the law of destruction, it was the supreme inheritance of the golden dragon clan. Apart from the law of destruction and the law of thunder, the rest of the 6 laws had already reached the 5th profundity. Boom! As the first prince of the dragons waved his hand, the various profound abilities turned into a torrent that surged toward Qin Feiyang. But for this, Qin Feiyang just smiled faintly. There were no fancy tricks. Just the supreme profundities of the laws of destruction and the laws of karma were enough to crush them. As time passed, the dragon race's first prince's appearance started to age. His heart was filled with despair. Although the golden dragon domain had a very strong defensive power, it didn't have much destructive power. It wasn't a problem to keep his life, but he had to escape from this desperate situation as soon as possible. Otherwise, when his vitality was exhausted, he would directly fall without the need for the other party to make a move. Unexpected, the little princess of the dragons murmured. In fact, she didn't think highly of Qin Feiyang at first. The reason why she still cooperated with Qin Feiyang was because she wanted to give it a try. Secondly, she wanted to let Qin Feiyang and the first prince of the dragons fight each other. When there was an opportunity, she would stand out and reap the benefits. But, right now, the strength that Qin Feiyang displayed was a completely one-sided situation. It was obviously impossible to reap the benefits of the fisherman. Now, she didn't want to think about other things for the time being. She only hoped that Qin Feiyang could successfully kill the first prince of the dragons. This could also be considered as fulfilling a wish in her heart. The first prince of the dragons was still struggling. Although he also had the Eye of Heaven, the situation was the same as Qin Feiyang's Eye of Heaven. Right now, it was of little use and had no use. At this moment, his hair had already become dry and snow-white. His face was also full of wrinkles. His entire person was like an old man in his 70s or 80s. Has it really come to an end? I can't accept this. I am the first prince of the dragons, the future successor of the Golden Dragon clan. How can I be defeated in the hands of a human? He roared in his heart. But the despair in his heart surged out uncontrollably, constantly destroying his fighting spirit. About 10 breaths later, his originally strong body was now like dry wood. His breath was dying, and his vitality had reached the end. With a crack, the Golden Dragon domain disintegrated on its own. You've won this battle. The first prince of the dragons looked at Qin Feiyong with a miserable expression and slowly collapsed. Qin Feiyong silently looked at the first prince of the dragons. Although they were old enemies, the first prince of the dragon's final performance made him look at him in a new light. Because he did not escape and had been fighting until now, he did not activate the sovereign divine weapon, nor did he ask the second princess of the dragons and the others to help. This meant that this person had indeed relied on his own ability to defeat him. In short, at the last moment, the first prince of the dragon's actions could be considered a real man. You didn't lose to me. You lost to your own conceit. Qin Feiyong said indifferently.
Yes.
At this moment, I understand why I lost to you, but a loss is a loss. I have nothing to say. Cherish the Eye of Heaven. Don't let down its power, the first prince of the dragons said weakly. As his voice fell, a purple gold eye swept out from between his eyebrows. It was the Eye of Heaven. Treat it well, cherish it. Looking at the Eye of Heaven, the first prince of the dragons murmured. In the end, he fell to the sea below. The moment the Eye of Heaven appeared, the fighting soul in Qin Feiyong's body started to stir. He could clearly feel a desire from it. Boom! In the next moment, the purple gold dragon soul appeared on its own. The Eye of Heaven between his eyebrows opened on its own. Rays of divine light surged out and enveloped the first prince of the dragon's Eye of Heaven. But at this moment, the fire dragon, who was lying on Long Qin's shoulder, suddenly jumped out and swept toward the Eye of Heaven. You're courting death. The white-eyed wolf suddenly stood up and activated instant time, instantly blocking in front of the fire dragon. This was because it had expected that the fire dragon would definitely interfere. After all, once the Eye of Heaven merged, Qin Feiyong would become a truly invincible existence. Therefore, it had been paying attention to the fire dragon. You're the one courting death, the fire dragon sneered, and the supreme intent of the law of destruction roared out. Boom! At the same time, the white-eyed wolf's body fought. The supreme intents of the law of karma, the law of death, the law of space-time, and the law of destruction were all activated in an instant. What? It actually has so many supreme intents? And they're all supreme intents. The surrounding crowd was instantly shocked. The instant time, the law of space-time, and the other supreme intents. These were the supreme intents of the 5 supreme intents. Terrifying, truly terrifying. However, the fire dragon had a look of disdain. So what if it had more supreme intents? The difference in cultivation could never be made up for. The law of destruction charged forward. Rumble. Boom. Boom. The white-eyed wolf's supreme intents of the 4 supreme intents shattered on the spot. If it were any other supreme intents, even if the white-eyed wolf was only a perfected dominator, it would still be invincible. However, the fire dragon also had a supreme intent of the supreme intents of the supreme intents of the supreme intents. This was the factor that made it unbeatable. Immediately after, the law of destruction blasted toward the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf let out a miserable groan and was sent flying, blood gushing out of its body. If it hadn't broken the limits of its physical body, the fire dragon's attack would have been enough to kill it. At this moment, because of the white-eyed wolf's obstruction, Qin Feiyong's Eye of Heaven emitted a purple gold beam of light that connected the dragon's Eye of Heaven to the first prince's Eye of Heaven like a divine chain. The moment the two were connected, a majestic aura surged out in all directions with the two as the center. At the same time, the dragon race's crown prince's Eye of Heaven also slowly flew towards Qin Feiyong's Eye of Heaven. Don't even think about successfully merging. The fire dragon's murderous intent soared as the law of destruction madly charged toward Qin Feiyong. Bastard! The white-eyed wolf roared as it activated all its supreme intents and once again charged in front of the fire dragon. You want to die that much? Okay, this emperor will fulfill your wish. The fire dragon raised his eyebrows as his murderous intent surged. The law of destruction's supreme intents were like a terrifying god as it shattered the white-eyed wolf's supreme intents and then slapped at the white-eyed wolf. Roar! With a howl, the white-eyed wolf's physical body cracked open, and blood dyed the sky red as it smashed into the sea below. After the white-eyed wolf's delay, the dragon's eye of heaven was about to reach Qin Feiyang. The fire dragon panicked. If Qin Feiyang really managed to merge with the eye of heaven, then he would be able to replicate both the law of destruction and the heaven-defying divine art. Qin Feiyang's strength was already frightening enough. If the eye of heaven successfully evolved, then he would be able to kill any god or demon that stood in his way. With Big Bro here, don't even think about stopping little Qin Zi. With a roar, the white-eyed wolf charged out once more, exuding an unparalleled aura with all its supreme intents. An unkillable cockroach? The fire dragon raised his eyebrows and looked at the second princess and the others. He shouted, "Hurry up and stop Qin Feiyang. Otherwise, you will all become his stepping stones in the future." The second princess and the others shuddered as they looked at Qin Feiyang with murderous intent in their eyes. In the next moment, with a loud bang, sovereign divine weapons appeared one after another. The white dragon sword, the blood dragon blade, the black dragon mirror. There were a total of 8 sovereign divine weapons. Retreat. Elder Hua shouted at the crowd when he saw the situation. He had never thought that this battle would turn into a battle between the sovereign divine weapons. Hearing Elder Hua's roar, the crowd immediately turned around and fled for their lives. They knew that once the sovereign divine weapons started fighting, only death would await them if they stayed. The only ones who didn't move were the young man and Long Chun. Long Chin's eyes flickered, but he didn't stop the fire dragon. No one knew what he was thinking. As for the young man, he still looked sleepy. Hurry up and kill him. As the Dragon Clan's princes and princesses shouted, the white dragon sword and the other sovereign divine weapons immediately charged towards Qin Feiyang. Faced with such a situation, there was no doubt that he would die. However, Qin Feiyang didn't despair because of this. With a clang, the ancient castle appeared, and its divine aura shook the surroundings. Clang! The Grim Reaper's sword and the horsetail whisk also appeared. Even if you have 3 sovereign divine weapons, can you stop 8 of our sovereign divine weapons? The second princess sneered. Chapter 3583. You're underestimating me, Qin Feiyang. Since I dared to come to White Crane Island to accept the challenge, I'm already prepared to deal with you. Fire Phoenix Sword, Fire Phoenix Divine Jade. Qin Feiyang roared. With a loud clang, the 2 sovereign divine weapons flew out of Princess Huafeng's body. They streaked across the sky like lightning and arrived in front of Qin Feiyang. What? The second princess of the dragons, as well as Bing Runing's group, all looked at this scene in shock. The 2 sovereign divine weapons were actually helping Qin Feiyang? Sister, what's going on? Pyrotechnic Glow and the 2 women also looked at Princess Huafeng in surprise. This is the agreement between him and father. The 2 sovereign divine weapons will now listen to Qin Feiyang's orders. Princess Huafeng transmitted her voice. They will listen to Qin Feiyang's orders. Pyrotechnic Glow and the other 2 looked at each other. With the appearance of the Fire Phoenix Sword and Fire Phoenix Divine Jade, the Ancient Castle, the Horsetail Whisk, and the Grim Reaper's Sword, Qin Feiyang now had 5 sovereign divine weapons. Although it wasn't enough to deal with the dragon's 8 sovereign divine weapons, it was enough to delay them for a while. On the other side, the white-eyed wolf was once again sent flying by the fire dragon, and his body was torn apart. I'll send you to hell right now. The fire dragon roared and charged toward the white-eyed wolf. Who are you sending to hell? Did you ask for my permission? However, at this moment, a black-clothed young man descended from the sky and slapped at the fire dragon. Boom! A wave of death energy rolled out from the black-clothed young man's palm. Caught off guard, the fire dragon was sent flying. Madman! The white-eyed wolf floated in the void and looked at the black-clothed young man in front of him in surprise. That's right. This person was the lunatic who had been separated from him for a long time. Madman's appearance not only surprised Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, but also surprised the second princess of the dragons. Hey! The madman looked at the white-eyed wolf and bared his teeth. I didn't expect you to be in such a sorry state. You're really embarrassing me. Scram. White-eyed wolf's face darkened. Tell me, and you're still unhappy. Madman pouted and looked at the fire dragon. You dare to bully my brother? You really don't know your place. Boom. As his voice fell, a terrifying aura erupted. He had reached the peak sovereign realm. Following closely, the Edict of Death and Edict of Destruction surged out. A dark red waning moon and a giant statue appeared above the madman's head. Damn you! The white-eyed wolf roared. Not only had he raised his cultivation to the sovereign realm, but he had also comprehended the supreme profundities of the laws of death and the laws of destruction. Just how had the madman been cultivating on Skycloud Island all these years? Haha, did you see that? This is my disciple. At the same time, the Hall of Famers was also secretly laughing, looking at the Alliance Master and Vice Alliance Master, as well as the Divine Python couple. His expression was full of pride. The Alliance Master and the others rolled their eyes at him. We know your disciple is outstanding, but there's no need to deliberately show off. However, this little madman was indeed powerful. After not seeing him for a while, he had comprehended two supreme profundities of the laws of death. This strength was not inferior to Qin Feiyang at all. Boom! With a wave of the madman's hand, the two supreme profundities immediately charged toward the fire dragon. The fire dragon's pupils suddenly shrank. The supreme profundities of the law of destruction surged as he frantically attacked. But there was no suspense. The madman's two supreme profundities completely crushed him. Then, the two supreme profundities blasted onto the fire dragon's body, and a terrifying fluctuation instantly drowned the fire dragon. Hurry up! Seeing how powerful the madman was, the second princess's eyes trembled. She looked at the dragon mirror and the other sovereign divine weapons and shouted, "Hurry up!" The 8 sovereign divine weapons crazily attacked. The 5 sovereign divine weapons, including the ancient castle, desperately protected Qin Feiyang. For a moment, although the ancient castle and the other sovereign divine weapons were in a passive situation, they were still barely able to resist. Ice Phoenix Sword, Black Ice Divine Hammer, Black Ice Divine Bow, go help. Seeing this, Bing Runing shouted. The 3 sovereign divine weapons immediately rushed out and went straight to the battlefield. Bing Runing, what are you doing? Princess Wolfing shouted. Bing Runing sneered. I should be the one asking you this. Why are you helping Qin Feiyang? Princess Wolfing's face was as dark as water. Sister, do you need my help? Pyrotechnic Glow said in a deep voice. Princess Wolfing said, Nonsense, we have to protect Qin Feiyang. Pyrotechnic Glow's eyes turned cold when he heard this. Fire Phoenix Blade, Divine Phoenix Spear, protect Qin Feiyang. Following 2 loud clangs, a long saber made of scarlet flames and a long spear made of fire flew out of Hua Zihui's body. They tore through the sky like lightning and attacked the 3 sovereign divine weapons. In fact, Qin Feiyang's side was still at a disadvantage. If this continued, Qin Feiyang's side would definitely lose. After all, the difference in the number of sovereign divine weapons was too great. But fortunately, the ancient castle's sovereign divine weapons weren't fighting with their lives on the line. They just needed to block the Ice Phoenix Sword and the other sovereign divine weapons. So many sovereign divine weapons? The madman's expression froze, but then a sinister smile appeared on his face. He glanced at the dragons and said, I came prepared. Clang. Boom. With a series of loud clangs, rays of divine light flew out of the madman's body. There were blades, spears, swords, halberds, everything. The aura they emitted was that of a sovereign divine weapon. There were 8 of them. What? The white-eyed wolf looked at the madman, dumbfounded. The Dragon Race's group, Bing Runing's group, and even Princess Huafeng's group were shocked to the extreme. How could there be 8 sovereign divine weapons? Even Long Chun and the young man looked at the madman, dumbfounded. This guy was too abnormal. 8 sovereign divine weapons, the ancient castle, the horsetail whisk, the sword of the Grim Reaper, the Fire Phoenix Divine Jade, the Fire Phoenix Sword, the Fire Phoenix Blade, and the Divine Phoenix Spear. There were a total of 15 sovereign divine weapons. In just an instant, Qin Feiyang's side turned the situation around. This was because the dragons only had 11 sovereign divine weapons, including Bing Runing's 3. I wanted to help them, but I didn't expect them to have such a terrifying foundation. The young man shook his head and yawned lazily. The snow python on his shoulder smiled bitterly when it heard this. Long Chen's eyes flashed when he heard the young man's words. He was here to help Qin Feiyang. It seemed like the relationship between the two was not simple. Kiki, the madman, took a step forward and landed beside Qin Feiyang with the white-eyed wolf. He glanced at Bing Runing and the dragons and said arrogantly, "Continue if you dare. See how I'll deal with you." "Yeah, weren't you very arrogant before? Come, come, come." The white-eyed wolf was also extremely arrogant. Previously, his physical body had not been destroyed, but it had been reconstructed. After consuming the Divine Life Pill, Primordial Sea Divine Pill, and Divine Sun Divine Pill, his broken physical body, Sea of Qi, and Sea of Consciousness were all recovering rapidly. Looking at the ingrate and lunatic, Bing Runing, and the rest of the dragon tribe's people's faces sank. Boom. It was at this moment. The dragon's eye of heaven finally met with Qin Feiyang's eye of heaven. The moment the two met, a dazzling divine light burst out and merged with each other. At this moment, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. Strong winds howled and gave birth to all kinds of strange phenomena. In just a few breaths, a mighty aura rolled out from above Qin Feiyang. Everyone looked up at the eye of heaven. It was completely different from the previous eye of heaven. At this moment, the eye of heaven was black and white, like a mysterious Taiji pattern. It was as if there was a world within it, with mountains and rivers, the sun, the moon, the stars, and thousands of gods and demons. That eye of heaven seemed to be able to steal the sun and steal the fortune of heaven and earth. "This is the complete eye of heaven," Long Chan murmured. Everyone present couldn't suppress a sense of awe in their hearts. It was as if there was really an eye of heaven looking down on all living beings. "Senior brother, activate your law profound," Qin Feiyang suddenly shouted. The madman quivered, and the law of death and the law of destruction roared out. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the eye of heaven sprinkled a black and white divine light, enveloping the madman's too profound. Immediately after, under countless shocked gazes, the purple-gold dragon god also rapidly manifested two supreme, profound meanings in the air above it. Success. The madman's eyes trembled. As far as Qin Feiyang was concerned, this was a great transformation. It could be said that the evolution of the eye of heaven allowed Qin Feiyang's combat strength to instantly increase by countless times. Haha, Qin Feiyang looked at the two replicated profound and couldn't help but laugh. The next moment, he looked at Bing Runing with a cold light in his eyes. The two profound meanings instantly shattered the sky as they madly rushed towards Bing Runing. "Your Highness, be careful." The white-haired old man, the white-haired old woman, and the middle-aged man took a step forward, and the power of law surged out. The white-haired old woman activated the law of ice's profound. The middle-aged man activated the law of death's profound. The white-haired old man waved his hand, and a surge of space-time energy rolled out. The law of space-time's profound also instantly appeared. It could be said that no one present could stop the supreme profundities of the two supreme laws and the supreme profundities of the law of ice. However, Qin Feiyang's face was full of ridicule. "Copy." Following his shout, the white-haired old woman and the other two's profound were also successfully copied. In this way, in addition to the madman's two profound, there were a total of 5 profound. The 5 supreme ultimates brought with them a torrential might as they blasted out. With a loud bang, the 3 supreme ultimates of the white-haired old lady and the other 2 were shattered in the void. Then, the 5 supreme ultimates blasted towards Bing Runing and the other 3. "Protect Her Highness," the white-haired old man roared. A supreme-grade, heaven-defying armor appeared on their bodies, but it was meaningless. Facing the 5 profound, it shattered on the spot. Immediately after, the 5 profound meanings blasted onto the 3 of them, and a world-destroying aura burst forth, instantly engulfing the white-haired old woman, the other 2, and Bing Runing. Screams rang out. In just a few breaths, the three's bodies shattered. Bing Runing was even more miserable, and even her divine soul was annihilated. Seeing that the four of them were about to lose their lives, the Ice Phoenix Sword, and the other two sovereigns' divine weapons rushed back and swept up their divine souls before retreating far away. Chapter 3584. Looking at the three sovereign divine weapons and the divine souls of Bing Runing's group, everyone present couldn't help but shudder. The Eye of Heaven was too terrifying to be able to replicate the ultimate profundity. One had to know that the white-haired old woman and the other two were super experts, but in front of Qin Feiyong, they were as weak as babies. The current Qin Feiyong was simply invincible. Haha, from now on, the demon hall will step onto the path of light. Elder Hua laughed inwardly. Although Qin Feiyong might not be a match for the four forbidden zones, he believed that it was only a matter of time before he surpassed them. If even the four forbidden zones were suppressed by Qin Feiyong, the demon hall would definitely benefit from it. Good. Our rogue cultivator alliance will step onto unprecedented glory because of these little guys. The deputy alliance leader, the Hall of Famers, was also very excited. How could they not be? Qin Feiyong and Feng Zi were their disciples. The two of them had achieved what they had today, so they felt proud too. It could be said that the Demon Hall and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance benefited the most from the rise of Qin Feiyong and the others. Of course, there was also the Heavenly Joy Pavilion. The Heavenly Joy Pavilion's despair was inextricably linked to Qin Feiyong. Although Yueqing and Yi Miao's cultivation were not very high, they had chosen the right side. If they had betrayed Qin Feiyong in the face of Pei Tianhong's threat, the Heavenly Joy Pavilion would have disappeared from the Sky Cloud realm. In fact, not only the Demon Hall, but the Rogue Cultivator Alliance and the Heavenly Joy Pavilion were also making a huge gamble. In the end, it turned out that they had made the right bet. In the blink of an eye, the three sovereign divine weapons carried Bing Runing and the others far away and turned back to look at Qin Feiyong. Because their physical bodies had been destroyed, the four of them had revealed their true forms. They were all ice phoenixes. At this moment, their eyes were filled with fear. They looked at Qin Feiyong as if they were looking at the Divine King. This is the legendary divine beast, Ice Phoenix? It seems that the so-called Feng people are all phoenixes. Usually, it's hard to even see a phoenix. But now, a Feng people actually came out. How many phoenixes are there in a clan? Everyone's eyes were filled with shock as they looked at the divine souls of Bing Runing's group. But what shocked them the most was that even the divine beast phoenix could not withstand a single blow from Qin Feiyong. Pyrotechnic glow swept his gaze over Bing Runing and the others. Suddenly, his spirits rose as he looked at Princess Huofeng and transmitted his voice. I understand, sis. Princess Huofeng was stunned. What did she understand? Pyrotechnic glow glanced at the people around him and said mysteriously, You must have made a promise to Qin Feiyong. What the hell? Princess Huofeng was stunned. Private pledge of marriage? What the hell was this? Otherwise, why would Father make the Fire Phoenix Divine Jade and Fire Phoenix Sword listen to his orders? Sister, I really didn't expect you to be so secretive. You actually got me a brother-in-law without anyone knowing. Pyrotechnic glow snickered. Princess Huofeng's face darkened as she gave Pyrotechnic Glow a smack on the head. It was so painful that Pyrotechnic Glow cried out. High up in the sky, Qin Feiyong, Frenzy, and the white-eyed wolf all raised their heads and looked at the Eye of Heaven between the brows of the purple-gold dragon soul. Their eyes were filled with shock. The complete Eye of Heaven was too powerful. It was simply unrivaled. Frenzy suddenly laughed and said, Now you feel better, right? In the past, Qin Feiyong always said that the Eye of Heaven was inferior to his and the white-eyed wolf's battle soul. But now, the Eye of Heaven had evolved and displayed heaven-defying abilities. In terms of combat power, it was not inferior to his and the white-eyed wolf's battle soul. No, they couldn't say that. Their three battle souls each had their own merits and couldn't be measured by combat power. When Qin Feiyang heard this, he couldn't help but laugh. But to be honest, he still had many doubts in his heart. The Eye of Heaven was naturally powerful. After all, it was one of the 10 strongest battle souls. But the white-eyed wolf and Frenzy's battle souls weren't among the 10 strongest battle souls. Secondly, they had never been seen in the world before. How could it be so powerful? One deprived one's cultivation, battle soul, and power of law. One had a large range of petrification that was impossible to guard against and unavoidable. These were all in the category of super-killing moves. The white-eyed wolf waved his claws and glanced at the fire dragon not far away. He bared his teeth and said, "Hurry up and deal with business. There's still a reckless fellow that hasn't been dealt with." Swoosh. Qin Feiyang and Frenzy immediately looked at the fire dragon. The fire dragon's pupils constricted. The power of the Eye of Heaven was obvious to all. And now, Frenzy had returned with 8 sovereign divine weapons. Even without the help of the Feng people, Qin Feiyang's side was enough to catch all the dragons in one fell swoop. Frenzy looked at Long Chen and laughed. "Old friend." The fire dragon stopped old Qin from fusing with the Eye of Heaven. "Is this your idea? What do you think?" Long Chen smiled faintly. "You're asking me? How would I know?" Frenzy grinned. The power of law in his body was ready to move. Long Chen didn't show any signs of nervousness. He looked at the fire dragon and said indifferently, "You planted the evil fruit, so you have to deal with it yourself." This sentence was enough to prove that the fire dragon's previous actions were not ordered by him. When the fire dragon heard this, his eyes trembled. Obviously, Long Chen wouldn't help. He regretted it now. He knew that these 2 people and 1 wolf were difficult to deal with, so why did he take the initiative to provoke them? In fact, at that time, he thought that he would definitely be able to stop Qin Feiyang from fusing with the Eye of Heaven. After all, there was the help of the second princess of the dragons and the others. But he didn't expect that Frenzy would appear halfway. Not only did his strength increase by leaps and bounds, but he also brought 8 sovereign divine weapons, directly shattering his wishful thinking. Qin Feiyang took a step forward and swept his blade-like gaze at the fire dragon. "Others don't know about the grudge between you and me, but those who know us well are well aware of it. So let's not talk nonsense and start directly." The fire dragon's eyes sank. He looked at Long Chen, then at the young man, and finally at the castle and the other sovereign divine weapons. Then he suddenly turned around and fled without looking back. What a joke. Even if he fought to the death to defeat Qin Feiyang, there was still Frenzy and 15 sovereign divine weapons. Also, as a nemesis for so many years, he understood Qin Feiyang's personality and knew that Qin Feiyang was determined to kill him. So in the end, no matter what, the one who would die would definitely be him. Only a fool would accept a sure death situation. The blood mark between his eyebrows released a dazzling light. With the help of the blood mark, even if it was just teleportation, its speed would be comparable to that of a supreme-level auxiliary divine spell. However, it wasn't easy to wait for the fire dragon to take the initiative to appear. Would Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf let him escape so easily? Obviously not. Seal this sea area. Following Qin Feiyang's low shout, the ancient castle, Horsetail Whisk, Grim Reaper's Sword, Flaming Phoenix Divine Jade, and Flaming Phoenix Sword immediately erupted with world-destroying divine might and swept in all directions. Seal the sea area? The second princess of the dragons was shocked. She looked at the black dragon mirror next to her and shouted, "Hurry up and leave!" The eyes of the third prince and the others were also trembling. Once this sea area was sealed by Qin Feiyang's sovereign divine weapon, they would be like turtles in a jar and wouldn't be able to escape. Once the fire dragon was dealt with, they would be the next. Clang! The black dragon mirror and the other divine weapons of the 8 sovereigns quickly came to life. They took the princes, princesses, and their followers and fled for their lives. Escape? The mad scientist frowned. "Don't worry about them for now." Qin Feiyang waved his hand. The second princess of the dragons and the others weren't comparable to the fire dragon. Although the fire dragon was powerful and had the blood mark, he didn't have a sovereign divine weapon. And the second princess of the dragons and the others all had a sovereign divine weapon. It wouldn't be easy to kill them, and there was also the unfathomable Long Chun. Not to mention his identity as the son of the Ice Dragon, Qin Feiyang was quite wary of his evolved domain of divinity. More importantly, if an all-out war really broke out, with so many sovereign divine weapons, it would be a devastating disaster for the Sky Cloud Ocean. In addition, if he fought with the dragons and the others, the Fire Dragon might take advantage of the chaos to escape. If he had to choose between the Fire Dragon and the second princess of the dragons, he would definitely choose to kill the Fire Dragon without hesitation. Because this wasn't just a personal grudge, it was also a request from the Fire Python. So, he didn't care about anything else, but this big problem had to be dealt with today. The 5 sovereign divine weapons crossed the void and appeared thousands of miles away in the blink of an eye. Their divine power was vast and mighty as they directly sealed off the sea area. Under the lead of the sovereign divine weapons, the second princess of the dragons and the others escaped the sealed area. But no matter how fast the Fire Dragon was, could he be faster than the sovereign divine weapons? As for Long Chun and the youth, they were still sitting on the side. One was drinking tea and the other was drinking wine. They didn't care at all. Do you really want to force me? The Fire Dragon looked at the sealed area and turned to glare at Qin Feiyang. You and I are destined to fight. What else is there to say? Qin Feiyang took a step forward and walked toward the Fire Dragon step by step. His blood-stained hair fluttered in the wind, like a god-demon descending to the world. Okay. The Fire Dragon's expression immediately turned malevolent. A terrifying dragon's might erupted from it. However, it wasn't directed at Qin Feiyang. Instead, it was directed at the surrounding crowd. These people didn't have sovereign divine weapons and knew that Qin Feiyang wouldn't hurt them, so they didn't escape. At this moment, seeing the Fire Dragon coming toward them, their faces changed color. This bastard is crazy. Qin Feiyang is right in front of you. Why didn't you go to Qin Feiyang and come to us instead? Bullying the weak. Is there a sense of accomplishment? No matter how strong you become, you're still the same. Qin Feiyang's eyes were filled with disgust. Back at the divine site, the Fire Dragon used the Fire Python's father as a scapegoat to escape from him. It was also because of this that the Fire Python's father died. Today, he was going to use these innocent people to threaten him. How could he be worthy of being a divine beast? As a divine dragon, did he not have any sense of shame? Qin Feiyang shouted, "Ancient castle, move everyone!" Boom! The 5 sovereigns' divine weapons surged toward the crowd with overwhelming might. In the blink of an eye, everyone who was watching the battle appeared outside the barrier. This included Elder Hua, He Zhongtian, the Alliance Master, and Princess Huafeng. The Fire Phoenix Saber and the Divine Phoenix Spear had also returned to Pyrotechnic Glow's side. After all, their help was no longer needed. Moreover, they had to protect Pyrotechnic Glow and the others against any sudden attacks from Bing Runing and the other 3. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.